Hey everybody, good morning. Let's turn that music off because we're about ready to go with the day. We got some StarCraft ahead of us. How you doing, Zombie Grub?
I'm alright.
Cool beans. Had some hiccups this morning, and we've had a couple of drop frames already. I'm hoping this gets nothing too serious. In a worst case scenario, we can always have Zombie Grub try and stream it. But we are almost ready to go. We'll hop right into it. For those who don't know what's going on, it's not just that it's a best of 15 finals. It's a best of 15 finals where all 15 maps are going to be played no matter what, even if it's a 15-0. And the reason for this is there's an additional $50 for each map won here in the finals. So not only do the map makers guarantee get to see a game played on their map, TvZ-wise, they also are going to make sure the players, because of this like requirement and necessity, will get the most possible money out of this. I would really like for this to go to a close series, though. Like, if this ended up being like 8-7 or something, I would be very happy with that.
Yeah, I actually think it would be quite amusing if it went like 15-0 or like 14-1 though.
I just can't think it actually going. I can't see it being that one-sided. Like, I can see uThermal losing some games to Nerchio. I can't see him losing that many games to Nerchio.
We'll see what the maps say. No, I agree, because like even the maps that have trouble with like tank spots, for instance, because it's a TvZ, those aren't enough to make uThermal win a lot or Nerchio lose a lot or whatever.
I mean, like, I just can't help but think of that series with Snoot, right, where uThermal had gone down 0-4 and brought it back. So I know that there's always going to be comeback potential with them, like, always.
Yeah.
At any rate, technical problems aside, and there have been many this morning. Good morning, hello, and welcome to the Best of 15 Finals. I just realized I can't even properly indicate this on the overlay. I guess I'll do best of 1 and put a 5 above it or something. We'll figure that out in a moment. In the bottom left side of Ir Plateau, this very outside-in map, it's going to be the red Zerg player, Nerchio.
In the top right, as the blue Terran, he is uThermal. And that's a clever wall-off, I suppose. Looks super weird, but it actually is the only way you can get into this location. So...
Initially, yeah.
Yeah, initially.
So real quick, I'm actually going to task this to you today because my frustration levels are already peaking. You get to read the author of the map names for each of these maps today because I just cannot tab out and do it.
Okay.
While I know you have to tab out to look for that, I do want to point out what she was talking about, guys. And she's right. Like, this is the only initial way into the base. You can even knock down rocks and keep that from happening. But while there are 3 entrances to your base, they are pretty much covered. If not by minerals or walling, then by other rocks in the center of the map. It's not something easily traversed. As again, there's even mineral patches blocking this ramp. So it's a very unique and a very interesting map, but for the most part, going outside is the only way in, and it's a very long distance all the way around the map. As there's, I guess, no cross path, if you will. But so for those who don't know the schedule as well, Best of 15 is happening right now. There's a third, fourth place match, though, that's going to happen afterwards. It's going to be BCQT versus Neeb. And we may have to do that one from replays. It depends on how long this Best of 15 goes. It's all 15 maps. We're guessing 3 to 4 hours to be safe, but to be honest, it could be much longer than that. And if it does go much longer than that, we don't want BC having to stay up to like 5 a.m. to play. So at some point, we'll let them do replays and catch their third, fourth place match from the replays, if that's the case.
Yep. I finally found it. It's by Thought, TH0T.
Yay!
Put a lot of thought into this new map. Additionally, I wanted to note that uThermal is going by his old standard of choosing the maps in alphabetical order.
I mean, it's worked for him so far.
That's why we're on Ir Plateau, and if he continues with it, it'll be, I guess, A, B, C, G.
Well, the day you missed, he actually went reverse
Annihilation?
alphabetical order.
Well, that I would not have been comfortable with. I would have punched him.
So I said, I'm just not doing that math on stream, bro. You're just going to have to tell me the map names and I'll make them. He's like, okay, fine.
I guess you could also just look up like the alphabet on the internet.
So I guess I didn't really realize, but even though this is a bit of an odd wall off, it's still like your standard wall off in terms of like 2 depots and a barracks type thing.
Yeah, if he was going to put his barracks there, it's true.
I hope he put something there. Some lings on the way. And of course, those just managed to kill... I guess a Reaper that was dicking around? Oh no, they didn't actually kill it. Sorry, it escaped to the north. I was looking for the blue dot in the map here, but...
Yep. Yeah.
Got out in the north, killed a drone or 2 by the looks of it. Or just 1, excuse me. 1 single.
Cool. Nailed it in all fronts.
Yeah.
Well, these might get their revenge. Going straight for that mule is a pretty good idea. Gets the less than fresh one, but still like that. That had good purple chips on it. Marines do find it, of course, and he has enough Marines to deal with this. This is not really a problem.
I'm surprised Nerchio didn't try to dart to the main with at least one of those lings. He saw the Marines out of position and could have got a scout. I mean, he still has not actually scouted the main, which is a little alarming. Because uThermal's on that double barracks instead of quick to starport build.
Right. He is actually going for a push. I mean, this can be really devastating. It's gonna be without combat shields. If he picks up immediately and goes, I mean, I guess he could also wait, but it's got to be for the drop, right? Because that's just how the map is kind of forced to play out.
That's also what he was doing a lot of versus Snoot. I mean, the thing about uThermal versus Snoot, that best of 9 series, was he really didn't vary up the builds a lot. There's slight differences in whether he did 2 racks versus 1 racks for the opening, but for the most part, it was same drops, same pushes, same everything every game.
I do remember that he swapped from, like, you know, instantly dropping to a few more tank pushes. So, like, you know, a couple of these maps do just really favor tank pushes, and the tank pushes are really start working out for him. So it might be the same order of things that he does here, or it might just because, you know, it's Ir Plateau. And unfortunately, you really can't get over to your opponent's base very quickly. And, I mean, it's actually a very good idea for him to try and drop. Especially because the map being so oddly like positioned and where you're going to scout and whatnot, the overlords actually aren't back here. So, I mean, there's other maps where the overlords are almost guaranteed to see these medevacs go out unless they take a very, like, you know, prescribed path. But this one is just it's wide open.
I think I'm a fan of the tank drops, and I can see positional advantage of use on this map, but for thermal, double drops are a lot easier to just test the waters with and see how Nerchio is playing today, and so far not so bad with his drop. Stuttering the Marines around a little bit, it's just barely not enough links to actually take this on. Queen's coming to the fight a little bit too late. This may have already gotten a little bit too out of hand. He's starting to pull a couple of drones. He's stimming on top of the Queens. That's going to be game. A very quick game number 1 here for uThermal.
I mean, Nerchio never scouted to see that it was a 2-base build. He never had an overlord position to see the medevacs on the way. I mean, you're going to play that map on ladder, you know, maybe, but probably not, if I'm going to be honest. And you're going to put an overlord there or something, right? You're going to expect drops, but I guess this is what, including the days I wasn't here, maybe like the 4th or 5th time we've seen this map? Not even? Like, it's not chosen very, a lot, because it's weird. Really weird.
You guys are seeing some sick, graphic work here as I try to figure out how to put this 5 sideways, but clearly don't know how. I did this the other day, and I can't for the life of me fucking remember how I did it. Nope. Okay, reset, rotate. Yeah, there we go, baby. Alright, a million times the charm, I guess. Alright, this is how we'll have to track the best of 15. It's the only way I can think of, guys. I'm sorry. Oh god, this looks so fucking terrible. But there we go. It says 15, very poorly, but it says 15. Alright, oh, my green screen's a little bit out of the way. So, next up is going to be Nerchio's map pick, as it is loser's pick for this. Luckily, they're both on the same server, so we don't have to do a lot of server hopping. We may have to do that with Neve and Beastie, who I actually... Shoot, I still have to respond to Beastie about his question, when does he play today? So, one sec. Beastie, if by 12 p.m. PDT we aren't near the end, you and Neve can start, and we'll cast from any place.
Oh, that's nice. StarCraft tweeted for us.
Yeah, I noticed.
And it's all correct.
So that's what I was going to say. There's 2 things I've noticed. One, StarCraft has been tweeting a lot more lately, and I don't know about StarCraft, the esports StarCraft Twitter. I've stopped following that, frankly. They've just messed up too many times, and I've given up. However, the StarCraft Twitter tweeting about this is really sick, and on top of the fact that they just haven't missed a beat on it. Like, it's almost like they're proofreading their work or something.
Is everyone in here? There's a lot of casters today too, so luckily they're all. So far, no one's having troubles. I mean, if this was like best of 15 in the Civil War, like with new maps and the new mod, I feel like I would actually kill myself out of frustration with all the casters that have to download the mod on a different server
Oh
and
man,
download the
yeah.
map, and I couldn't. And so far everything's fine.
Who's I Marie, by the way?
That is the gaming caster.
Okay, cool. Just making sure. I should recognize most of these names by now, but I don't for whatever reason.
Yeah. I think he has a different one on America, so.
Okay, next one is going to be Annihilation Station.
Yeah. I think that maybe Nerchio is also going in alphabetical order.
I love that they just did that. Like, we didn't even have to ask. We could just, like, go down the list.
Yeah. I mean, I'm pretty sure this would have been second, yes.
All right, so real quick, by the way, guys, reminder to everybody that this entire tournament is sponsored by Blizzard. Even though we got our own channel sponsors up here on the overlay, Blizzard are the ones who made all of this possible. $4,000 in prizing. They let us organize and host this in our own way. It was really cool, and I'm super glad that they were willing to invest in the potential future of the ladder. So, again, shout outs to Blizzard. But I do want to remind everybody before we do these intros that there's going to be a voting phase here for the map makers. And the map makers will also be winning a little bit of cash depending on their maps getting chosen for first place, second place, third place, etc. So do us the favor, when Team Liquid has those polls out, go vote, guys. It sounds like such a small task. It'll take 2 seconds. But it also really does help influence what maps may make it to the next season of Ladder. Unlike the real elections of the world, voting actually matters.
Oh, snap.
Alright, spotting the top right side of the map, it's going to be the red Zerg player, Nerchio, playing for Euronics Gaming.
In the bottom left, as the blue Terran, he is uThermal. Euthermy.
Euthermy is just such a cute, adorable version of his name. But don't be fooled,
Yeah.
guys. He's not a cute, adorable guy. He's a scary beast, and like we just saw in that game, a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, I think a lot of people, myself included, assume Nerchio is the better player of the two of them. Mostly because I'd say we've seen obviously better results out of Nerchio, seeing him get further in tournaments, more often in tournaments, and even winning a lot of weekly cups. And there's an interesting thing that was brought up, and I don't want to get into this because it wasn't really dramatic, but uThermal asked us a very innocent question during this tournament. And he said, I was listening to one of the casts, and I hear you guys often say, like, this guy doesn't get results, and I'm curious what makes you say that. And this is one of those interesting examples of the difference between these two. Nerchio, for example, has played in so many Lycan League Cups, Corsair Cups, like pretty much anything we've put on, he's played in at least once and won at least once. And we sadly haven't seen that much out of uThermal. So again, I think there's going to be a lot of bias towards Nerchio just because we've seen a lot more of him and we've seen him win a lot more too. But make no mistake, guys, uThermal is a beast, and he got here to the finals not through luck, not through coincidence. He earned it.
Yeah, I can certainly, I'm not going to say, like, everyone's wrong for thinking that Nerchio is the better player. But for me, I actually give it to uThermal. Like, it was going to win, like, 8-7, or I don't know. But I do think he's going to win in general, whatever the score ends up being at the very end. Just because I think that he is pretty strong in general. Nerchio is not, like, my favorite matchup for Nerchio is not his ZVT, it's his ZVP, obviously, like, the DreamHack run and whatnot. So if this was, like, a Protoss, I'd be like, oh, Nerchio wins 100%. And that, the new maps seem to they don't necessarily favor Terran, although there are a couple of spots that are obviously, like, okay, tank pushers are going to be really strong in here. It just seems that Terran are adapting really well to it, and uThermal was one of those guys that, like, after he picked himself up versus Snoot, he did adapt very well to the maps themselves, and they became a problem for the Zerg. I mean, and we saw in the last game, like, the highlight of that was that in ladder maps or competition maps, Zergs, like, the first thing they do is they find the best place for an Overlord. Like, okay, what is it going to see? Is it going to be able to scout easily? Like, what's it going to be able to do? And Nerchio did not, like, know to put his Overlord where the medevac was actually going to go, and that's something that wouldn't happen on other maps.
Yeah, not only that, we also have the fact that Nerchio just didn't go for that fast speed, like we've been seeing a lot of people get more consistent with, but I got pretty, I'll say lucky, but I got really close with my predictions on the Nerchio Neeb series. I guess 6-4, and he ended up going 6-3. Do you want to be bold and try to make some crazy guesses on this finals?
So it's the first to 8, right?
Yeah.
But then you don't have to end at 8.
It's the first to 8, but I'll go after. So, like, we'll assume when it gets to the score of one player being 8. So not saying like all 15 maps, but like 8-3 could be an option, for example.
Okay, that's a little easier. I guess 8-5. I think, for uThermal.
Really, that's close. I was gonna say 8-4 for Nerchio.
Oh.
This will be interesting. Let's see how close that gets. Now he does get a nice start on this side. Picks off one of the SCVs. Unfortunately, he wasn't building anything or doing anything useful, but he does through this see the Banshee. And this is a quite different build than what we saw in last game. And for Nerchio's sake, roaches are on the way. That's great. He'd already gone for a Spore Crawler, so he's kind of just set against this.
Yeah, and this could have been a really big surprise. I mean, the amount of times that Terrans are going for Banshee follow-ups or openers in general is kind of low nowadays, especially if it's in a bio. I do wonder if uThermal's ever gonna like, you know, use one of those Sky mech builds in this best of 15. I have to imagine he would. It got pretty damn low.
That did get pretty damn low. Like, I'm more impressed that the SCV never went into the Lings either through the building phase. God knows I can never have that happen with my SCVs. I'm busy build canceling 100 times to try and get him through the building.
This is the safest opener that uThermal really could do, by the way. Like, a third CC so obviously placed. Like, if Nerchio saw that and there wasn't Banshees, he could go across with these roaches right now, and uThermal would have only had Hellions and, like, maybe, like, a couple of Marines. But the Banshees actually provide that extra layer of safety, even though they do push back a couple other things, like your upgrades, that, you know, even if they don't do a lot of damage with the Spore Crawlers and the Queens already prepared, I think they're already pretty worth it, especially because Nerchio originally went for roaches. If he was going for a 2-base Muta build, then, you know, this doesn't look nearly as good, but he's not. So I think uThermal's already in a fairly good position.
Oh no, this Roach Warren being so inappropriately placed, we'll say. I know he's got some transfuses and he may just try to save this, but he doesn't have any detection for this, is what makes this so difficult.
He has a lair, though. Like,
oh, the Overseer just finished.
There you go.
There we go.
Okay. You're gonna get a Queen and just barely be able to get out, really? I thought that Queen was gonna get that hit. Oh well. So nicely done from uThermal. You can send that other one that still has a lot of cloak left over too, and maybe dance around a little bit more as the Queens are out of position, but just gonna keep him in the same hockey as he macros up back at home, and everything looks pretty damn lined up. We got tanks on the way, because I think he noticed, you know, obviously there was roaches, and maybe just wanted to do a tank push anyway. And upgrades and stem and combat shields is gonna time up pretty perfectly with this 1-1.
I can't believe that almost got the Roach War, and he's running with some Hellions now. Roaches were left at the front, so he's going to be able to hit a couple of them. Low health one at the front certainly doesn't help. I guess uThermal was hoping these would be out of position for whatever reason. But Nerchio's doing something here where I think this is where I think a lot of Zerg, and especially Zerg like Nerchio, get ahead in the game. He's going for the Infestation Pit. Now this leaves him two really awesome options. One being obviously Hive to Ultralisks. Cool. I think we've all seen the struggles of Terran versus those units. Alternatively, though, if uThermal is going to be doing a lot of attacks, and Nerchio says I don't have the time to get there, he can now get Fungal Growth. Combo that up with your roaches, get some Corrosive Biles going, you know, that whole ordeal.
Yeah. But uThermal, he's pushing just before everything is lined up, but he's really hoping to catch Nerchio off guard, and it kind of works. I mean, this seems like it's enough with reinforcements that uThermal's not going to be able to snowball to win here. But the trades are pretty okay, especially as he micros
gets
the
one
tank.
of the tanks.
That kind of sucks.
Hellions do manage to get to the natural while this goes on, but they're still low from earlier, so they're limited on their lifespan. Nerchio's going to pull some drones and lose a couple, but uThermal really... He trades out the army decently. We'll say decently, because it wasn't great, it wasn't bad. But Nerchio could have and should have taken so much more damage from those Hellions. I'm more impressed with that defense than this defense.
Yeah, that was quite scary. But seven drones for Hellions that really weren't going to be helpful. Like, turning them into Hellbats with an armory, like, against roaches is... I guess they provided, like, a lot of damage, or health, but... thank you to Riamar for the 26-month resub. I know he's been away for a while, so he's coming back.
If you guys see Riamar in chat, like, he's straight up been sick and in and out of the hospital and stuff. Give that guy some hearts, man. Riamar's like one of the biggest supporters to the channel. He's an awesome mod, and I had no idea he was sick, man. I felt so bad when I read that this morning.
Yeah.
So I just hope you're feeling better, buddy, and if you're not, I hope you feel better soon.
Nice counter from Nerchio. Actually does more damage than uThermal's Hellions did, so that's kind of disappointing. It looks like uThermal has an idea of what's happening, by the way. You know, it's a lot of Zergs doing this, right? They're going into roaches, but they're actually upgrading their melee and going for that fast Hive, so... He's already prepping for, like, another starport for more Liberators. He's got the Fusion Core on the way. Unfortunately, they're really... If he waited for 2-2 to do, like, a bio push, Ultras would already be on their way out, and it just would not have worked. So, harassing with, like, quadruple drops, 2 on each side, and getting your own macro up back at home is probably his better bet.
Interesting. I didn't realize concussive shells hadn't been researched yet. Nidus worms give you a really interesting combo to break on top of this. uThermal is pretty well, like, defended on 3 bases, minus the gap in the wall here, but I really like what Nerchio did. I mean, you talked about the melee upgrades. That's better for Lings, it's better for Ultras, of course, but luckily, combination corrosive, bile, and fungal growths don't need upgrades, so he was going to have damage here no matter what. And I think for uThermal, his best bet really was putting pressure on Nerchio before he could afford to go for Ultralist, before he could afford quadruple upgrades currently in the production tab.
Yeah, unfortunately seeing quadruple upgrades is always a little disappointing, but the good news is we don't see a big bang from Nerchio. Not that uThermal could ever tell that, but at least he hasn't gotten to that overwhelming point yet where you finally beat down that Ultra army and they just like remake it because they have 3,000. And this should get a little more difficult for Nerchio to continue expanding with uThermal's drops.
That wall though being down, gonna cost him some SCVs. Does get cleaned up in the mineral line though. Corsair will catch a medevac. Luckily, it's only 1 medevac. There was a lot of overkill for said medevac.
It's excessive. uThermal has to be very careful. This is not only killing SCVs, which aren't necessarily a problem right now. The 9's still pretty good, but it's taking focus away from his main push. 1 fungal, 1 out of position, not using a ledge for him, and he could just straight up die. This is pretty cool.
Attack in the middle of the map is going to command center, just really far away from that. Nidus, though, I wonder if there's even anything inside of it. We'll take a look in a second as it does finish up. Corsair on the left side catches one of those tanks. Ultra's trying to avoid the liberation zones.
This is going pretty well for uThermal. There really wasn't a lot of Ultras, I guess, because they popped out of here.
Yeah, and these will splash down that mineral line really quick, so not paying attention for even just a moment. Oh, no. He'll clean up the Roaches and Ravagers, actually. So this isn't too bad of a trade, but I feel like production from Nerchio should be able to hold on against the small amount of bio that's left over. Meanwhile, Ultra's completely gut the base. The command center goes down. No lifting on this side.
Okay, if he had lifted the 3rd CC, I think this trade might turn out better, and especially if it had a 4th on the way, which unfortunately he doesn't. But losing the 3rd CC, no 4th, it's a good thing he saved his Liberators, but I don't think it's going to be enough to really make up that damage.
No,
that
I
was
mean,
pretty bad.
even trying to kite inside the Liberator. Well, no, I like what he's trying to do there. He's trying to keep the Ultras inside the Liberator, right? Even if it costs you your bio, if they just run through it, then they, aren't going to take any hits, but he lost too much still nonetheless. Liberators may or may not be dealt with, but if Nerchio needs to base trade this, I kind of feel like he can. But you did point out earlier, there's not really a large bank, which is still an increasing problem.
Oh, kill the spores. They're actually targeting the medevacs right now, which is not uThermal's problem. There's no Liberators back here. Uh-oh.
There's no Liberators, but also the bio's in pretty nice positioning to kite around and use chokes against these Ultras.
Yeah. I just, if there's more bio, I'm like, absolutely, this choke is going to be great, but unfortunately, it's pretty low. Looks like the Liberator is still doing their job pretty well, but as I speak, they go down, and that's going to be game.
Alright, so Nerchio quickly ties up the series, bringing it back now 1-1. Because he also took the alphabetical order. Now the question really is, what map's next? We're going to go to our first commercial break of the day while we find out. Don't go anywhere, guys. And thank you for watching these ads. We'll see you soon. Alright, folks, we're back. And we're just waiting on Nerchio to come back from a small break, going to the bathroom. We did tell players, by the way, that they can absolutely ask for breaks at some point during the series. A best of 15 is one thing, but a best of 15 where all 15 maps are played is another. Bets are closed now, by the way, and holy shit. If you bet on uThermal for this and uThermal wins, you are getting the payout of a lifetime. 88,000 Partoofs currently bet on Nerchio, 22-something thousand on uThermal.
I should have bet. Why didn't I do that? Kind of forgot it was an option for like the last 6 months.
Oh man, that's crazy. That is some crazy. I've never seen 88,000 play. There's 110-something thousand total.
What's even more impressive is that we're not like at 4,000 viewers, that all betted. It was like 1,300 people watching, and only like half of that or less actually bet.
Yeah, actually, that's really cool. That's like the "Hey, view bots, you don't exist just yet" type logic right there. Because the thing is, like, I think Boris put the max bet to 10,000. So even if like a very few amount of people bet at 10,000, that's still a lot of people who had that many Partoofs in the first place, right? Like. At any rate, folks, for context, normally we see bets that consist of like maybe 5,000 to 8,000, right? Like those are usually the stakes. So like 88,000 to 22,000 is kind of crazy. But we'll see how this goes down in the upper left side of Apotheosis. I'll leave the map maker's name to you, Zombie. It is going to be the Red Terran uThermal. Although, let me guess before you...
You have 0 chance.
No, hang on. It's not Mevis. It's not Avex. Is it the sneeze name?
No.
Oh, go on.
It's -0.
Oh, we had that guy for the cast. Should have known better.
If you didn't say stop, I would have said you had less than 0 chance.
You clever girl.
Okay. Oh, did you introduce him?
I introduced you Thermal.
Oh, I guess I was looking up Apotheosis. In the bottom right, as the blue Zerg, he is Nerchio.
It'll just keep spinning, just keep spinning. She'll get down eventually. Just keep twisting and turning. Of course, there needs to be the reminder made. There's a difference of $1,000 and $800 for the first and second place of this best of 15. So alone, there's enough incentive to play all 15 maps out, I feel. I mean, to lose this utterly and entirely and walk away with $800 is not bad. But keep in mind, each player will receive an additional $50 for each map won. So already each of their prize pools growing, albeit slightly, but still growing. And I think that's a really cool concept and incentive to keep playing. Even if you've lost the series, you could still end up with well over $1,000, depending on if you can win 5 games or not.
That's some rent money right there.
Actually, it's funny. I think it was, Bly won the gauntlet recently, and he's just like, I'm so happy I won. Rent money, yeah!
Woohoo! I can afford to live. Yeah.
I do get curious on how some of this money gets paid, though. You got people like Neeb, right, who have just racked in bank lately. He's still in high school, so I doubt his parents are charging him rent. Like, does that kid just legit get to save up like $11K in the course of like 3 weeks of gaming? If that's the case, I'm so jealous.
I mean, we have some, like, you know, like Lenok when he was pretty young, and he was on his rise of fame. I think he was the one that said that he bought his parents a car, which is like pretty cool. It's even a bigger deal in Korea.
If I could afford to do that, maybe, but
if I won a lot of money like within 3 months and, you know, I was 18, but I really like my parents, but I would buy them like a trip somewhere or a car if they really needed one, and then I'd save the rest. Not really.
Actually,
go get her.
This reminds me, there's like a story out there about how Shaquille O'Neal spent like $1 million in like a couple of days or something. It's like one of his first big sighting checks, and he didn't realize that there'd be like state taxes and all these other things. So, you know, he's just buying cars after cars after cars for his family and him and everybody until he realizes he's spent like more money than he currently has coming to him.
Whoopsie. I thought he was also the guy that was like on Reddit yesterday. He invested in a ton of businesses. Wasn't that him?
Maybe, I don't know. I haven't seen that thread. I saw it was like an interview from a few years back, I think.
Oh, because he didn't want to be on the Wheaties box. He's like, I don't eat Wheaties, so I'm not gonna put my face on it. I eat Fruit Loops though, so get me in contact with Fruit Loops. But that would make sense, because wasn't he the guy that was the ultimate boss at the car dealership in Fresh Off the Boat?
Yes.
Yeah. Yep. All right. That's all I could think of when I read that. But anyway, so we have a very similar build to last, which is actually very surprising. Last map I could see being a very standard macro map, like no problem there. So opening with a 3cc and a safe 3cc with the Banshees, okay, that's fine. Oh, he's going double starport. I just realized as I was talking about Banshees.
Oh.
Okay, well this is still interesting because this is a map that is arguably like the best for tanks. Even if they take the appropriate bases, it's still a lot of ledges and a lot of pushing power.
It's not just that, but it borrows a lot of elements from Bridgehead when it comes to design-wise, going down the middle of the map. And I don't necessarily mean the bridges, but I just mean like the terrain and the elevation, getting behind bases to attack another. Like that third on Bridgehead was always so annoying to take because of what Terran could do with tanks behind it. But here on Apotheosis, the air is not a bad choice to me. Not only does it get over the problem of these ledges, it's also something where the map is so far apart, you're not really worried about Nerchio coming to your base with a handful of lings at such a quick timing.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not... I mean, we'll find out why he did it. Maybe he has a specific plan, or maybe he's just hoping Nerchio sees Banshees and is like, oh, he's doing the exact same thing as last game. And then bam, suddenly like it's double liberators every which base and whatnot. Because Nerchio, you know, Banshee's easy enough to deal with. You get a couple spore crawlers, you make sure you have a decent overseer time, and you have some queens that don't get, you know, run off into the middle of nowhere. But you include a bunch of liberators in there, and then suddenly they really wish they had gone for a Spire, which I'm not sure Nerchio is really planning on doing. I think he's doing a very similar build as last game.
So I do want to just comment on something here. Question came out of Riamar in chat. I know we've had a couple of people actually ask this as the tournament's going on. We actually cannot allow the prize pool to be increased by donations as much as I would love to. You know we love doing that sort of shit. Because this is Blizzard sponsored and it's all Blizzard money going into it. That being said, if you guys do want to find your way to players and give them a personalized tip, I'm pretty sure they would not mind if you hit them up on Twitter or their Twitch channels or what have you. So it's the unfortunate no answer that no, you cannot donate to increase the prize pool, I'm afraid.
Womp womp. But it's cool that you guys are always asking that.
I really like that you got, like, this is where the StarCraft community always impresses me. We can make jokes about dead games for days, but it's the fact that, like, you've got people like Riamar out there who constantly want to just, like, help the players get more money. I love it. That's why we're doing stuff like the Civil War and whatnot.
Yes, yeah. But now I'm just, I don't know.
I know the bio transition. I saw that too.
Yeah. So you continue making Banshees and Liberators, and suddenly Ravagers aren't, you know, they're not doing enough. You know, even combination with Queens, and they're just being, you know, dragged all over the place. But if you're only going to get a second starport to get like a couple of Liberators, that's still going to be a fairly easy cleanup, as we saw from Nerchio. Didn't really have a problem with it. I guess he's going for super fast counter ultras.
Okay.
Like,
you want to make a bet this game?
oh my god. Oh, did Nerchio never get a lair? I think that's a problem. That's a mistake.
It is. We'll see. Well, it's coming in now. But yo, you want to make a quick bet this game?
It's way too late. Sure. What is it?
Do you think he goes for the medevac upgrades at any point?
No.
I actually think he does if the game goes on long enough. I think if this
Okay.
goes past 18 minutes, we'll see medevac upgrades.
I still don't think we will. I'll take that bet.
Okay, that bet for nothing. Huge stakes on the line for this, guys.
Yep, huge.
Thank you, Capricorn, for the 13-month reset, by the way. So this is, jokes aside about the upgrades for a moment, this is one of the kind of cool benefits of having this starport. You're going to have two starports at some point anyways, just due to the fact that you want Liberators, but also you want their range. So while this was a bit of a backwards opening for uThermal, very much so in terms of like you get your starports before your stim, it's still something that will work out in the macro sense of things. Oh, this bunker, are you for real?
Yeah. If that bunker is actually questionable.
I mean, you gotta consider, like, his army at some point is gonna be poised here, and Nerchio would only be threatening from the right side, so the bunker, maybe not so questionable in that regard, but right now, yeah. The timing for this, that's a stupid bunker.
So, I guess, well, first of all, Nerchio's not doing what he did last game. I think his lair was still, like, a bit later than he wanted because his upgrades didn't time out with it that well, but I don't think it was, like, a huge problem. And now he's getting, like, every single tech tree, Jesus. And does he think that it's two starports? Like, he's actually going to mech?
I think he may think it's going down that direction. This may have been a good trick out of uThermal, but this tank push is going to reveal what the real case and the real nature of it is. Maybe Nerchio responds. I mean, he can just pull back for now, lose to this base, keep the drones alive. I mean, the gold base is really not that important when you've got a regular fourth you're taking at the same time.
Yeah. But this might have just been a huge surprise. Like, usually if you see a production tab like that against Terran, it's because they think you're not gonna be attacked yet.
So these Hydras are dead. You might as well just cancel them. Awkward.
This is a very interesting game. I feel like there was a couple of, like, one of the mind games worked, okay? Like, whatever one it was, it worked on Nerchio, and Nerchio's a little shocked to be so heavily pressured so soon. I mean, getting Hydras like that seemed kind of almost useless, but now they're a little protected by the roaches. Not really that many tanks.
If there was like two tanks even, this choke would be fantastic. He's still trading out pretty damn well, picking up the expensive units like the Hydras. Reinforcements do come in, and maybe uThermal's going to keep this pressure on strong. Liberators are going to be falling across the map after this, and Nerchio just simply isn't cutting it.
I really think Nerchio thought it was going to be a Sky Terran push or something. I mean, like,
in fairness, there are situations where Roach Hydra, Ravager Hydra, like, these have worked in the past.
Sure.
But not for what Nerchio is doing. I mean, Hive's finishing up here in a second, and that's going to lead to nothing useful whatsoever.
The Spire is where I think it really solidifies, because you could argue Roach Hydra has a place. It did in Heart of the Swarm, even though it's not nearly as popular as it is in Legacy of the Void. But to get a Spire as well, to have that production tab look like that is something you see either against Protoss or against Sky Terran.
It's a funny way to classify it, but it is a bit greedy in that regard, where you're just going for all the tech because you think you've got time to do that, but obviously time not on his side. And uThermal being the aggressive player that he is, I'm surprised Nerchio thought, even for a moment, like, if you think it's going to be mech, I feel like uThermal's not the type of mech play that would sit back like 150 to 200 supply. Like, he'd still probably do some sort of push early on. And in that regard, I think maybe those roaches would have been enough, but GG does get called, and this bio swap weirdness out of uThermal will get him a 2-1 lead now in the series.
ABC.
Folks are asking if they're seeing drop frames, and the answer is yes. For whatever reason, frames are starting to drop again. We've had a couple issues today with the internet, and if this continues to persist and gets bad, it's only been a small handful of drops. Like, there really hasn't been that many. But if this persists, and if there are going to be a lot of drop frames today, we'll swap over and have Zombie Group stream. So we got a plan B already in motion. But let's hope things get fixed and don't break, and we'll see you guys in 2 minutes. Fingers crossed. Alright, folks. We're back just in time to hop into the game. Shiva gonna be the next map. Who is the author of Shiva, Zombie Group?
Ezel.
This is, of course, the gentleman who made Coda, and we've seen some actual interesting games on. I think he was one of the ones who commented on Team Liquid. I could be mistaken. I know one of the map makers was really happy watching that their maps starting to get used the way they would hope they would, but a lot of these games have not gone super duper macro, so we haven't seen like the full extent and the full use of all these maps. So we've seen some pretty cool ones. But anyways, getting into the actual match at hand, he does lead 2-1 in the upper left side. It's going to be the blue Terran player, uThermal.
In the bottom right, as the red Zerg, he's Nerchio.
So doing not too poorly for timing. As we had mentioned, though, all 15 games are going to get played today no matter what. So this will likely go on for quite a bit of time. I do want to once again just address the issue of frame drops, because we've had another 200 drops since the last one, and for whatever reason, I don't know this is happening. So if this continues to persist, we'll take a break and we'll restart, because we don't want to ruin the finals by making it an unwatchable experience. I'm just trying to see if there's any other programs open that I can close, but I don't think anything else is taking up the internet.
That porn in the background?
Yeah, the Overwatch stuff.
Heh. Yeah, okay.
I guess I don't know if this will help at all, but do you mind just turning your camera off for this game, and we'll see if that
Sure.
helps. Good, I'm sick of seeing your ugly mug anyways on my second monitor.
It is pretty ugly now that it has blonde hair.
Yo, no, actually, I will disagree with that. I think the blonde really suits you. Like, I don't know. I didn't really care for it when we did. I just thought, like, okay, you look fine with it. I think the blonde looks quite good on you, though.
I know, that's why I said it.
Oh,
I'm actually
okay,
very fine.
so you're fishing with compliments. I got it. I see.
Yep.
Just like, not only does your
Yep.
hair go blonde, your personality's going with it. I see.
Stereotyping people.
Yeah. Shut up. Okay. So, one thing I think Nerchio is really going to have to be on guard for is going to be scouting for this game. I mean, it's one thing to get caught off guard a little bit by what uThermal did. It's another to get caught off guard by it multiple times in a row, though. I will admit, though, like the Banshee and the Double Liberators, everything about that looks like a very common Sky Terran build that a lot of players have been doing in the bigger and the more macro style of maps, but not something that Nerchio can afford to miss out on again.
No. It was actually very surprising. I kept on checking Nerchio's vision and was like, yeah, okay, I guess he really only saw the expansions, and he must never have seen the composition. You know, there wasn't a bioforce standing right outside the supply depots or anything like that. So it just was, you know, he was trying to get ahead of the game and got ahead of the wrong game. So he certainly should be looking towards more scouting. You think he would have learned that with the first game, but I guess not. It is, I think, the reason that Snoot did so well, and it's, you know, really unfortunate he didn't end up, you know, winning, but that's kudos to uThermal. But Snoot, I thought, was dealing with new maps specifically very well, not just ZVT, by getting that faster overload speed every single time. Because the new maps, I think their biggest problem is
You don't know what the hell's going on.
Yeah, you don't know where to put overlords. You don't know what they see as the better, the better option. Because, you know, ladder maps, everything's already figured out. You know that X map is better for tank pushes, and you can almost, you know, try and blind counter it. But not here. So I really thought that scouting was a very good idea by Snoot. I'm a little surprised Nerchio is still not. I mean, okay, don't go for the overload speed, but suicide one of your overlords. he hasn't really been like totally on top of that, even though he's had overlords in position to do so. So we'll see. Shiva is an interesting map just because the middle is so interesting. The actual base layout's a little bit interesting too, because the thirds are they're like kind of far away because there's a ramp leading down into them and back over. They're not just like right next to you, but obviously not the most difficult thirds to take. But I do like that uThermal did not go for a third CC build again. He's getting one right now, but he got 4 Widow Mine drops first.
So there's something to be said about 2-base Terran, by the way. First off, I think it's really fantastic, and the aggression you can put with it is strong. The problem is, though, like, once one person deflects at one time, you almost never want to go for it again. So I like that there is this thought to go towards thirds. Like, he's not trying to consistently beat his head against a brick wall against somebody like Nerchio, who can probably deal with 2-base shenanigans. That line of Widow Mines is kind of scary, but as you can see, it doesn't get a whole hell of a lot for its trouble.
No, the fact there's already a Spore Crawler was, well, just a very safe bet from Nerchio that would cover the Banshees that uThermal has done now twice. And it would cover against, well, Widow Mine drops, even though he didn't, I don't think he necessarily knew that was happening. No, he didn't. So that was just a bit of luck from Nerchio. Unlucky for uThermal. His follow-up of Liberators shouldn't be doing too much either because the Spore Crawler is already made. They just have to move into position. And I don't think there's like too many spaces that look really abusable. This map does have a lot of space behind the mineral line.
Yeah, actually, when we were interviewing the map makers, one of the comments that they said that kind of caught me off guard, but ended up being hilarious, was none of them really considered, oh yeah, I guess we should compensate for Liberators. They were all thinking about actual drops and ended up just working perfectly for being something that would deal with Liberators as well.
Well, this is the one base that doesn't have a Spore Crawler, so Nerchio's gonna have to move something from the natural, or just try and get a Queen in there. Oh wait, with 2 Liberators, actually, they cover each other.
Just barely. This is a really interesting spot to put this. Ravagers coming out, though, will be able to deal with it. So while this is certainly annoying for Nerchio, it's not like he can't deal with it. Oh, man, sniping those eggs, though.
Yeah, this is annoying, because, you know, you don't really... You put all your hotkeys, your base hotkeys on one hotkey, usually. So, keeps on accidentally building stuff from this one.
Nice quick pull away with those Liberators. Now he knows that Corrosive Battle's on cooldown. He'll have a second or two to kind of muck with. Almost gets the Queen for it.
Oh, wow. This is working out pretty well. Okay, the Spore Crawler was repositioned, but oh, you can actually get behind it. I don't think Nerchio anticipated that.
I don't think you can get in range of it. But holy frickin' schmoly, Jesus Christ, Riamar. So I see what the problem here was. He sent a donation in euros, and for whatever dumb reason, PayPal won't auto-accept that. It forces you to convert it. So I just checked it.
Yeah.
Riamar, if you got a message you'd like for us to read on stream, please let me know, because he just donated €200.
Jesus.
It's like a...
Oh my god, that's like $1 billion Canadian.
You know what? It's like $1 billion American too, okay? Shut the fuck up. Your dollar sucks as well, man. Actually, it probably isn't. Just the Canadian dollar really sucks. But thank you so much to Riamar. Wow, dude. What the front door? You should save it for medical stuff. I guess maybe.
No, he's in Europe.
That's right. Oh, stupid Riamar. God damn it. Thank you for your generosity, you silly, silly bastard. I love you, man. Thank you. But really, yeah, if you've got a message you'd like for us to read on stream, just message me on Skype or something, dude. You know what's up. €200 is a freaking lot, and thank you so much for that. That goes towards the Wisdom Teeth Fund. AKA the scam Twitch viewers fund, because everyone thinks it's fake and I don't really need dental care, but I do, and okay, whatever. Ravager fight in the middle of the map, though, is going to be enough to scare uThermal away. This is something where we might be able to stim in. Combat Shields finishes at a really sweet timing. Maybe he stims in, focus fires a couple of them down, because they are really low. Liberators had pretty much tapped each and one of these at least once or twice, as we can see. So there's that stim.
Yeah, there you go.
Bit of focus fire. He's got it back away from the Lings, but as the Lings disappear, the army can once again try and maybe get in there. He doesn't want to have to yield this position, because if he does, Nerchio will be able to break down the rocks. He'll be able to cut out reinforcements, but as we see, the focus fire is good. The SCVs are pulled, and it's not even that bad of a pull. 9 workers died behind this, as I guess the Liberator had continued to go unchecked for some time. So both players losing workers, but uThermal holding on to his location? Barely. More reinforcements coming out of Nerchio, much faster than uThermal has his own reinforcements coming out, but 4 Marauders at a time and 8 Marines is nothing to be shy about whatsoever.
Yeah, if Nerchio has to pull back, and he does, I think uThermal should be very comfortable. with his, basically his Marauder count growing and hopefully his medevac count as well, because a few did go down. And knowing that Nerchio tried to push and was unable to get a liftoff on the third base, I think means uThermal is doing pretty well. Now, he doesn't want to push into an ever-increasing army. He wants to push into an army that's maybe going to try and transition into an infestation pit or something like that, so definitely be on the defensive. Maybe a bunker should have been tried to be put down, or maybe just
look at the
win.
splits. He just danced through that corrosive bile like a god. Roaches are going to be pushed back by the Marauders. The last couple Ravagers start going down. I don't know that Nerchio is necessarily SOL yet. He does have Infestors coming out, but I just don't think it's good. Actually, he doesn't have Pathogen Glands. So you know what? I think he is screwed.
I think he is as well. He didn't expect that fight to go quite that far, and I didn't either, considering that uThermal's 2-2 wasn't done, and even his Marauder Slow wasn't done. I thought maybe Nerchio would take a bit of a better trade, but obviously wrong. Now his Carapace upgrade looks like it's going to finish up, but at the same time uThermal's 2-2, so uThermal should be in a very good position. Actually, he should be in a, just take a direct fight type of position. No need to drop. Nerchio's not even mining off his fourth base yet, and Nerchio's attack just... it's not working, and unfortunately Roach Ravager just gets worse and worse as time goes on.
It's so unfortunate because a combination Corrosive Bile and Fungal Growth really could crush this army, but there's just not enough. There's a single Infestor.
Yeah. Now uThermal realizes that there are Infestors potentially, but doesn't realize it's one Infestor, so he's being pretty careful here. Definitely the better way to go. But he should be somewhat confident. His SCV counts at a very stable point. He does have those upgrades finished up, and that's not a very scary army as he scans and sees only one Infestor.
Well, Nerchio does push this back to start. That Corrosive Bile not going to get that money hit, but still enough to start pushing that army back. And this is, I'd say for Nerchio, what he really needed to do, because he just does not have... he does not have enough to take a fight around his base. The second he starts backing away, he put the Infestation Pit on the front line, he's got this third base in a very important place where he's mining. This is not a location he can give up. So even if he doesn't win a fight and kill uThermal's army, as long as this base survives, this is right now the most important base.
I'm not really sure about directly investing into a second starport. I thought he might invest into 3-3 first and continue pushing with the bio. Not that Libra's ever bad. But, it looks like he's going to get pushed back with just Nerchio's ever-increasing roach count, and now there are more Infestors as well, so he's got to be very careful. But the drop goes off to the fourth base, the one that wasn't mining for a very long time, but is now, so very nicely timed for uThermal. Almost gets an opportunity to do a lot of damage. Might still have, actually.
This is the problem, where if he trades at that base, he's going to be giving up a very important base himself. This is where the Fusion Core is. This is uThermal's mining on this third. SCVs are going down. There's enough Ravagers to keep this army at bay with the Liberators. We got a couple of Infestors ready to go, but they don't land their energies.
This is some super nice target fire. These two Marauders took down almost all three Infestors. That was really awesome.
But even then, the Ravagers, they take out the Liberators. They were the best form of defense. Looks like the Bio's going to start pushing back one more time, and Nerchio's got that sort of retreat fungal growth up his butt, ready to go if he needs it. I mean, you don't know where fungal growths come from. I'm just saying.
I mean, I think we should start their head, because that's where they shoot it from.
Yeah, but you don't know that if it, maybe it generates in their butt and it goes through their entire system, they spit it out their mouth.
That's true. That's true. Well, uThermal's actually on the ropes. He just lost 15 more
Oh,
SCVs.
This Corrosive Bile!
Oh my god.
It's gonna be nasty!
And he killed the CC as well.
GG.
That's game.
GG. Nerchio tying the series up, taking it back. That back and forth, 2-2. By the way, camera, please.
Okay.
But nicely done from Nerchio. Now it's going to be uThermal on that last, loss. We'll be picking the next map. We'll go to a small break while we get it sorted out. And, I guess I can't really update this thing on the fly because Twitch Alerts is funky like that. But I guess this puts the donation goal really, really close to being finished now. So thank you so much again, Reamwire. I guess he didn't really give me a message to read, but 9 out of 10 times his donation message is just hello. So I'm just going to say hello, and we'll see you guys in 2 minutes. Alright folks, called Ir Plateau coming up next. This is one of Avex's map. I can actually introduce this one. I've got at least this much memorized. This is the one that's got that in-base expansion blocked by a couple of rocks. I do want to point out though, and this is noteworthy, the maps are currently in their, I think they call iteration, or I don't know what they call it. It's some silly name, but basically they can review and change the maps this week, resubmit them, and then that's what the contest judges and other people will be judging in the finals. you guys voting, etc., etc. So small changes, like if they see problems with that in-base expansion, if there's issues with rocks on the map or whatnot, map makers are working and trying to update these on the go. In fact, a lot of the times, these maps are actually being updated day to day. For example, this map was guilty of having a third gas bugged. It cost Bly an entire series, which was really disappointing. Ironically enough, he still ended up moving it on to the next round because Scarlet forfeited anyways, but this is something where I am glad that they've been pretty diligent about updating the maps and making sure that they're not all going to be super broken.
Mm-hmm.
Now that being said, we are getting into game number 5. Spawning here in the upper left side of the map, he's going to be the blue Terran player, uThermal.
In the bottom right, as the red Zerg, he is Nerchio.
So quick things to point out on the map before we talk about the players. Once again, hosted and created by Avex. He's got the in-base expansion, which is kind of interesting. 2 additions that were changed / edited since we first cast this map last week. The third gas has been fixed, but he also added some extra, I guess, grass. This didn't apparently entirely fully wall off the high ground vision, but now it does. So potentials for Niduses or proxies or something weird are certainly there. Nerchio just jumping ahead towards the gold base right away because this is classified as a gold base map. There are golds all over the middle of the map. Sorry, as I look at one blue base.
Yeah, it seems to be a pretty safe choice for Zergs to do this. You've seen it versus Protoss and versus Terran, I guess now. I guess not versus other Zergs, although maybe. But there's not much uThermal can really do. Unless he does a 2-base tank push, maybe then he can try and really push and punish, but that's still a while away. Then we're done with Reapers, or, you know, obviously no proxies going down as well, and unfortunately that's something you kind of give to the Zerg.
I feel like there was a time where, because everyone was so focused on trying to play macro, no matter what race you were, the gold bases definitely helped the Zerg out a lot more. But now that we're in this state of the game where a 2-base push versus Sky Terran versus 3 bases are all equally viable out of any good Terran, I don't feel like the gold base is so incredibly advantageous, but at the same time, it is good to see players take advantage of them when and where possible.
That's gonna be a very odd wall off. He needs like a third one behind the second one. Maybe that will still have a hole in it. It's not very pretty. Anywho, so that's the usual expansion we see taken, the one uThermal is taking right now. Even if you can get out like an early enough Reaper, obviously you don't want to keep it back at home, or even if it was a Marine, this will take some time to kill the plates in the back. So it's actually a safe third more than it is an expansion. So I guess in that case, I mean, this is classified as a gold map, but I mean, if you're gonna be able to take that third, it seems like it's pretty easy and it can be a macro map. If it was TvZ, of course, you have to be worried about it, or if Nerchio took the base, if he lost his gold, for instance, and then had to take the base up on top, then, okay, the tank push would actually really hurt him. But I guess considering that he has to deal with it first and foremost to save his gold, there's no ledge abuse, hopefully. And if uThermal even goes for tanks. His last game, he didn't bother. Last game, his mass bio looked like it was working fine after he defeated that first push, and then did end up just losing out to Mass Roach Ravager and eventually a couple of Infestors.
Is Nerchio going to play really, really greedy here on this 4th? I mean,
he might just be using his lings to use them.
I was going to say, actually, yeah, that probably makes a little more sense, because there's just no reason to take a 4th this early unless you really want to have no units for a Terran push.
Yeah. Yeah, that probably wouldn't be a good idea. I think uThermal is going for fairly quick stim. He's got that starport already on the way as well. And this is like that push we saw in the first game, where Nerchio just simply did not scout it and had nothing to defend against it. It might happen here too, depending on how greedy Nerchio is going to be. Once again, there's no Overlord that's in that direct path unless this Overlord keeps on moving, and maybe it will be. But if Nerchio, or if uThermal sees that, of course, he can just try and circumvent it with the Medivacs.
Well, Stim getting nearer and nearer to completion. Whether it's going to be that same game 1 or maybe it's a completely different map because he's got gold and more to work with, we'll find out. Nerchio already has a significant amount of queens. Like 4 queens on this base. There's should be one in the main still. No, I guess he pulled them all for front line.
The middle supply depots just do not look like they're walling off.
I know, it looks like there should be a hole right there, but the train and the doodads and like you can knock down these rocks. I guess it's not that big.
Oh yeah, no one blocked on the rocks. Oh well. Or brought down the rocks. Okay, so this is actually a suicide scout, which might not be as good as just leaving it on the side and seeing the medevacs.
Yeah, it doesn't see much, just the factory. Double medevacs coming down the middle of the map is going to, as you point out, have nothing to see them coming. Eventually, this Overlord will, and maybe Nerchio gets in position. I do like that he's got creep spread all over, so he's not going to find himself out of luck trying to shuffle the Queens round. Roaches are spawning as we speak, but this is still going to be tough to deal with. 2 medevacs full of Marines that all have stim. That's a lot of damage very quickly.
Yeah. But it was seen, and Nerchio is already prepping a couple of, like, emergency defensive roaches, so he just continues to make roaches. So it looks like the reinforcement should be enough. Certainly to, like, not let this end the game, basically, which is what it did in that first game. Tries to pounce on top of a queen, so at least he'll be getting that. Maybe an overlord or another queen as the two come from behind, but... Oh, actually gets into the drone line. Very quickly kills 6 drones and gets out.
Oh! Ooh, one small misclick cost him one of his medevacs full of Marines, too, but that's okay because he still gets one of them out alive. I'd say the damage he got was worth it, but that goes from being ahead to just kind of like an even trade now, although 2 free overlords in the bottom left are certainly nice to help make up for those losses.
Yeah, that's pretty, that made it into a decent drop. Of course, you gave up the 3rd CC to do this, and he did not get a 3rd CC after. He went for even more barracks, so this is actually turning into just a big old 2 base, and maybe if the siege lasts long enough or enough damage is done, a 3rd CC will go on location, but it also might just be a plan to use your main as your 3rd, but we'll see. Of course, uThermal has to wait for at least 2 tanks to really push out comfortably. And ideally, he would do so without being scouted, but that Overlord's in a pretty good position. Okay, well, it's actually going to go ahead and Suicide Scout as well.
Well, back at home, that is a lot of tanks, almost good to go. I think uThermal's doing a lot of focus on the map right now when it comes to just kind of dancing around, but once that push is ready to move out, I mean, the supply looks pretty good right now. The actual type of supply is going to be advantageous as well. Upgrades have gotten to melee, which, let's be honest, there aren't that many lings out yet. I think the armor upgrade is going to be the most valuable thing here, as it will affect the tank fire on those said lings, but I don't know. uThermal, I mean, this is pretty much that 2-base all-in we were talking about before.
Yeah. You know, though, he might just be able to go unscouted. Like, a couple of Marines stop the Overseer from seeing the 3rd CC, and the Overseer does not... Oh, it sees the tanks moving out. Okay, a little unfortunate for uThermal, but I think Nerchio might have had some idea of what was going on. He is trying to get to Hive and Infestors once again without pathogen glands, so this actually might be a perfect time to hit for uThermal. Obviously, no upgrades is kind of weird. Usually, like a push involves a +1 or something, but you know, it was heavily pushed off. And actually, we have Liberators helping to siege up the base. It's not really too abusive of a situation here.
Tank's got to move, though. Corsair Bow's raining from above. uThermal not dancing whatsoever. He's busy focusing with the Marines. Don't know that that's an acceptable choice in this case. I mean, I kind of feel like if you're going to let anything A-move, it should be the Marines. You need to be dancing those tanks around when you know this Corsair Bow is coming. The Infestors are out. They've got almost enough energy to fungal grow. This really, really puts a big stop on this push going forward. He's got to dodge those fungals, because if he doesn't, he's going to lose so much of his army.
Yeah. Losing those tanks was really, I mean, even unacceptable. 3 tanks compared to just the 1 that suddenly just like blasts apart the Infestors. If you focus fire, they're able to get up closer to that ledge. I guess he's rallying, so he still has 2 tanks, which is better than 1. But
his long distance mining with SCVs at the gold too. I kind of find that hilarious.
I guess he's already pre-planning to send his main command center over to that gold, which is, I think, actually very acceptable. That's where he's gonna be rallying his units anyway.
Well, picks up one of the tanks. Won't lose that. Oh, he does actually lose it. I thought it was only 2 shots, not 3. Medevac just kind of chilling above the army. I think is a little bit funny to see, but he's able to. There's really no anti-air here.
Yeah.
Fungal growth hits some of the bio. Link's just going to flood on top of this. They've got 1-1 for upgrades. uThermal's getting hit from all sides, and that's going to clean this game up right here, right now. This is the entire army disappearing.
I'm not so sure about pushing into this location too, by the way, as uThermal probably has lost this game, just looking at it as an idea. But I guess the gold base really isn't that much easier. There's 1 choke, but it's kind of far away, so you'd still have to push in farther, and Nerchio would still have been able to get a concave.
Well, you know, there's also the fact that this is... He knew that this got taken early. He may have just assumed that this is where it is and pretty much mined out and not a threat to push into that.
Yeah,
I agree. Certainly questionable to go there after seeing the Infestors, but at the end of the day, gotta give credit to Nerchio. He's kind of doing the same thing we saw before. Nice room combined with Ultralisks. uThermal might try and keep this up for a little bit longer, but he's gonna need to move that command center at some point.
Yep. Unless his drops really start to just either deal damage or pull Nerchio apart and make him kind of just fumble a bit, this should be an easy, like, overwhelming win for Nerchio. Ultras or not, as well. Like, he could wait for the Ultras, or he could try and take another surround on the army. And it looks like he's prepping for the surround. Half his army over here, half his army to the right downside, and not a lot of bio in between.
He dodges the fallen growth, but runs into 2 more sets of lings. I guess with still no anti-air, it's kind of cool to see the medevac save everything.
uThermal's last push is, once again, not even going to have that second upgrade, though it has the +1 now. Has a decent number of tanks, but the Ultras are already on their way out. They might not have plating, but they'll still be able to take a lot of shots. And, of course, those Lings are pretty well upgraded. They're doing a great job getting surrounds and getting on top of those tanks.
Yeah, I mean, the +2 armor pretty much locks down. Tanks aren't going to be one-shotting Lings anymore. Well, the splash damage is nice. Fungal growths are better. Holding that army in place. Fungal growth's going to rain down. Ling's getting a little too deep. Decides to back away from this. But I think Nerchio's got to have an idea. Like, with his in-base expansion being his third now, I guess, with this mining out, he's still got a really great income behind this. And it's going to bleed red when we look at the charts. And it is just, like, red, more red.
Yeah. Maybe he was planning on using this other gold base, I suppose, as some of the ledge of a pushing off point, but he just never got that close. Looks like Liberators did a surprisingly good job, even though Queens seem to be in position.
It drew his army out of position.
Yeah, he does get on top of this plateau again, but
GG.
It's game. GG.
All right, game's gonna go to Nerchio as he takes the lead now, 3-2 over uThermal. We're gonna take one of our slightly longer ad breaks this time around, guys. So stick around with us, and we'll be back soon with more when we return. All right, guys, we're back. Thank you for waiting through that break. Getting into the lobby right now. What is the map, Zombie Grub? You're muted.
The Sun Station.
Oh, this map.
Show up.
This map, like, I roll.
uThermal says, nice, that's the map we want.
Yeah, actually, so this map, I'm giving it a little bit more shit than perhaps I should. It has produced a couple of interesting games. I think my favorite was the Puck versus Hearthstone one on this map, but you guys can let us know what your thoughts are. It's the one that's got that little broken-looking ramp that's not broken at all. It's made by a Korean map maker named Enik, I believe. Let you confirm that.
Let's see here. It's in the new maps. Yeah, Enik.
Yeah, he's actually, he was singing in our chat the other day, which I found a little bit odd. Said hello to him, he said hello back to me in English, and then nothing else after when I asked him questions.
Great.
But currently a little bit behind in this series. Again, not by much, though. In the middle bottom right, it's going to be the blue Terran uThermal.
In the middle left, as the red Zerg, he is Nerchio.
And here's one of the gimmicks to the map, guys. It's got this weird little ramp. So this is kind of it's a little bit like Ir Plateau in the sense that the initial design of the map makes you want to go along the edges to get to your opponent's base. You gotta go around the outsides of the map. But there's rocks over here initially, so you can't even do that very easily. So the funny thing about this is, like, whether you want to break down the rocks and go to your opponent's base through this southern path, or if you want to just walk freely through the north, you didn't have to break down Nerchio's rocks. But there is a silly little rush distance in between that's very short, very close, and I guess something you can wall off or take the risk of going for a goal on. I don't know. I think uThermal of all people will be the one to punish this, and not from like a frontal attack, but just from putting some Marines or even the Reaper on this side of the mineral line.
Mm-hmm. The Reaper, the Hellions, anything. We don't have any melee units as Terran, so.
Actually, what's interesting is I wonder if this is a cliff you can jump up. I'm not sure if these are blocking doodads or not. If they are, if you can jump up this cliff, Reapers would be so good on this map. Sit behind the mineral lines, decide you want to dip into the main really quick, come back out, throw some more grenades down here, in and out, but...
So, what's awkward is that I don't think you can get the Reaper back there. Like, there's doodads almost everywhere around your bases.
Oh, you know what? You might be right. Like, you can't even jump out the backside.
Yeah, so that actually, like, Reapers might be the worst on this map.
Korean ingenuity.
All right. So this is actually kind of a fake, but like it's almost necessary because they are both taking these expansions that you either put the bunker back at home and just defend like usual, or you put it in the front and like the best defense is a good offense kind of deal, which I think is happening for uThermal here. I'd be really surprised if he got the hatchery with one marine at a time while expanding, but maybe if he creates a wall. Can you actually wall this off? Is that going to be walled off with three bunkers?
I don't know. I want to say no, but we've had these weird... Like, that looks like there should be a gap on the south side, no matter what. Like, forever and always. This is kind of a cool move out of uThermal, though. Like, he really wanted to keep Nerchio from coming across the map. He wanted to make sure that he was going to be safe to take his own command center in doing so. And in this really aggressive opening game, he's done a great job of doing that. Nerchio got a couple lings by, and he wanted to get the SCV that was building the command center, stall it out, delay it best he could, but he didn't. And now there's a lot of emphasis on the other side of the map.
Yeah. But it's one marine at a time, so as I said, I'd be surprised if this killed even the spine crawler, actually, but it just might. So that's three marines now, and they could just transfer over to the other bunker and still try and get something, whether it's the queen or the spine crawler, but they're not going to get very much else besides this. But this is not very expensive, even if he's not going to salvage the bunker.
He just hops into the other one. This should be enough to kill the spine crawler. That's hilarious.
Yeah, now they're gonna get the spine crawler, and they could chase after the queen after that, and they really should. She has like 5 health left over. But I think the thermal, I mean, he's also macroing back at home. That's the whole point of this. Come on, Marine, just go tap that queen. Come on. Come on.
Tap it, tap it, tap it. I'll go for the drones instead. Another bad choice. Roaches do pop. Now realizing there's going to be Ravagers out. This is something that can deal with a bunker pretty easily. But instead of going for Ravagers, he just starts going across the map. As you pointed out, there's like macro, but it was more like macro air quotes back at home because a lot of that money is just now being invested in extra bunkers that aren't going to be done in time. And this way, that short rush distance really ends up hurting, once again, both players in this scenario. One just more than the other initially.
Yeah.
I was trying so desperately to finish that bunker.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to finish. And a supply block, as the Overlord accidentally got rallied into the bunker, means that Nerchio can't really reinforce this too quickly. Actually, no, there's a couple roaches. He probably should have, maybe even, but I think they just popped.
This is such a strange, like, aggressive game. Roaches do get focused fire. He gets that one last one. 7 SCVs died while this goes on. Both players have been consistently mining off of a gold with similar worker counts while this has been going on. There's just not a lot to defend. I mean, there's going to be a tank out, but it's not going to have the ability to shuffle around. No medevac will be with it, so I think the Ravagers should reign supreme. And it does look like Nerchio may just take this game.
Yeah, might be.
It's like, just barely, but...
It's a very interesting map for sure, in that the good offense quickly actually just tumbles into a really bad defense if you're broken.
What the fuck?
What?
Riamar. I don't know. He just donated. I'm not sure if this is bugged out on PayPal or if one got canceled and he sent the other one through. But he either donated €175 on top of the 200 from earlier, or he donated another 150 with that 175. I'm gonna go confirm for him and make sure he didn't make a mistake. I'll gladly refund one of these if it was. I'm not sure what he's doing here, but Riamar, dude, like,
calm down.
Big love, man.
Yeah. Well, this was pushed back, and with the tank drop, now things do kind of swing back into uThermal's favor, as this is a very good defense against roaches. But Nerchio is on his way to a lair. Probably not a Spire. He just hasn't been feeling very Spire heavy this game, but still it's going to be able to give him, I guess, a few more options, more Ravagers, I suppose. He could actually start his Spire if he wanted to go that direction, or even the Hydrosun really, but I think he just has to get these queens out and maybe get Lings their speed, as he did skip speed to go for roaches very quickly. He could probably deal with a tank drop, but now 2 tank drops. Third one's actually on the way as well with the third medevac.
Yeah.
Huh.
By the way, I'm pretty certain we're going to have to take a break after this game for you to stream.
Okay.
Because this was fine. We weren't dropping any frames, and then the duration of this game, we've dropped more frames in this one game than we had for the entire broadcast combined.
Oh, well.
So we're going to assume it's something about the West Coast Switch servers, and we'll pass it off to Zombie every stream, guys, but we can't do anything about it right now. Queens are getting fired upon, and while this probably looks like a slideshow for you guys, hopefully our audio is helping carry this through. Nerchio's pulling some drones into the tanks, and they're just barely living, as uThermal's got some really sick micro pick up and drop on these tanks.
This is no stim, no combat shields. He just had a couple of tank drops repaired and brought the Marines that he's been slowly building up again, and it has worked really, really well. Loses 1 tank, so it's like maybe it's starting to get cleaned up. The second one almost went down as well, but he just lost all of his drones for it. So.
Right. That's where this really gets messy. I mean, you took 2 additional bases on the outside of the map, and that's cool, but at the end of the day, it's 24 workers to the 44 of uThermal.
Yeah, I think uThermal's tanks might just be the ultimate trump card.
I called this way too early.
I think that's the thing about this map, though, is like the bunker rush looks really strong, but then the roaches break it, and you're like, okay, well, usually they have like 30 seconds or something because they have to go across a much bigger map. Usually the Terran can defend. Not on this map, and vice versa. Okay, your roaches are doing okay. All right, you lost them, but you're supposed to be able to remake them in time for a counter, but you can't on this map. So, like Nerchio, had he had 15 extra seconds, he probably bulks up his queens and his, makes a couple more Ravagers or something, and he actually defends against this push. But on this map, it's just it drastically changes the pace of the game, where it's very odd. Like there is no defender's advantage for both sides, so you just don't know what to really call for it. But as Nerchio gets pushed back into his main base, it looks like the thermal is really starting to snowball.
Okay, so again, I know this totally sucks, guys. I'm watching the frames bleed out. The frames are dying faster than Nerchio in this game, okay? I get it. But I do want to mention, just confirm with VMware, he did actually intend to send a combination 150, 175. So I think, like, without a doubt in my mind, that covers the rest of the Wisdom Teeth Fund. Woohoo! And I can safely get these motherfuckers out of my head.
Great.
So thank you, VMware, for saving Rifkin's mouth.
Hey. Confirmed, by the way, I know we had a question about this. The tank on the low ground can reach the extractor on the high ground.
Yeah, we had questioned that in previous cast.
Yeah, it can't reach the hatchery, though, which I think is definitely the most important part.
But as being shuffled around, that certainly will be able to. Picks up in the corrosive biles. Nerchio not able to land these hits. 4 tanks untouched while this goes on. Marines just stuttering in for the win, and that's going to be game.
What's the score?
It is 3-3 now, very back and forth. And remember, like, each of these players are getting $50 per win. But as you guys can see, the stream is clearly not working, so we're going to take this down. I'm going to get Zombie up to stream it, and hopefully we shouldn't have too many issues going forward. I do apologize. I have no idea why this is happening, but it is. And we'll see you guys in a few while we get this sorted.
Damn Rufus? Well, I also made the lobby and refereed, so...
Yeah.
It's Nam Rufus. What was I following? Oh. Hey! Thanks to Liquid Monk. Oh, like Liquid Monk.
That is the gentleman helping facilitate the bridge between the map makers of Team Liquid as well as us here in the tournament. And I think he's one of the people who's in charge, if not in charge of, like, a big part of the whole getting this together in the first place. So that's really cool that we were able to have the Team Liquid Map Contest 7 happen, and then hopefully you guys have enjoyed seeing all the maps played. Again, best of 15 finals, Game 7 currently. We're halfway through, essentially.
Yeah, just about. Oof.
Not bad for timing, though, but we're definitely not going to finish at 12 as we had kind of expected.
Oh, I said it was going to go longer, so... It's going perfectly as I anticipated. Anyway, we actually have a third Gambita coming down to block off the entire wall. He already has 2, and they're actually about done, but... You gotta do what you gotta do to make sure these lings don't get in, because that was a scary amount of lings.
And I mean, the double entrance makes this a really big problem. I thought uThermal would have a lot more issues blocking that off, but third base taken from Nerchio while this happens. And I mean, we've talked about this base. Like, this is kind of a tricky base. For both the attacker and the defender, the worst feeling in the world is going to have your army stuck on the wrong side of that ramp.
Yeah. Yeah, we saw I guess the last person that I cast, they're actually taking these bases. Yeah. Which we thought about, and it actually made a bit more sense. But if you feel like you're going to be able to defend your third and thus your fourth fairly well, then I suppose more power to Nerchio. He is going for a fairly quick lair. He's adding on the Roachwarn and going for those melee upgrades again, switching just like a bit of a different order of the way things go. But it seems like also his usual build. Whereas of course uThermal went for a third CC, not with Banshees this time, just coupled with a very safe tank drop. I mean, again, the only thing that's going to really counter this straight up is going to be some of the fast muta. Otherwise, it's going to be good against roaches, against lings, it's like a baneling all in, which I don't think we're going to be seeing from Nerchio any of these games, but it's possible. And, of course, the macro just getting set up here. Everything looking pretty on time. Combat shield's probably going to time out nicely with 1-1. uThermal is going to take the base in the pocket, or whatever you want to call it, so it's not actually choked in on one ramp in case things go wrong. There's actually a jumping off point so that you can kind of go around town over here and up there and down there, and then not only get to Nerchio's third, but probably his fourth up here where this tank is trying to be a nuisance, and there's no high ground vision, so it's a big nuisance.
Are in range, but yeah, no Overlord makes this impossible to actually hit that tank, so just taking those free shots while he can. Overlord does scuttle over into position now.
Yeah. There we go. But this is some nice damage. Again, this tank drop really not, like, one tank drop not going to do too much damage, but it is going to, like, to help defend. So to get damage done, to pair it up with double drops is actually even more than I think uThermal could ask for, and it's looking really, really good. We have a bit of a link attack, and the tank is covering, but unfortunately not much else, so a couple SCs are going to go down over here. But this drop, oh, it looked like it was going to do so well, but roaches are actually in position.
Oh, and the Marines just get wrecked on the bottom side. Yeah. Nice thing is, though, with the Marines protecting the tank, I mean, it's not just in range to hit the extractor, it's actually able to reach some of this mineral line, hitting that drone gas line. As long as this doesn't actually get driven off, this is some pretty good damage out of uThermal for very minimal risk.
Thanks to this Vend for the new sub. I don't know what it was about, you know, having technical delays, but that worked out. Oh, dear God, that
apparently. New sub hype?
Oh, jeez.
They're like, you know what, these guys need the money to fix their shit and get it together.
Yeah, that's exactly what they're talking about. Alright, so that medevac almost went down. I mean, he already lost, you know, 8 Marines, so that wasn't, like, a totally successful drop. For what it, like, looked like it could have been, I guess it went only okay. But 3 bases do have the tank saved, and the secondary push, like, I think the bigger main push, is still looking pretty strong for uThermal. Nerchio, I think, wisely doesn't take this as a 4th base, having realized where uThermal took his 3rd. Does take it over here. I think it's a lot better. It's going to create maybe 1 or 2 problems in having to defend, you know, left and right, but it's something that Zergs have to deal with every day.
So, really quick, I've been called out on Reddit by Fear Dragon. He finally did the useless fact about the Adept, but he did it like 8 months after the beta ended, so they've changed the useless fact since then. So I just wanted to defend myself by saying the information I gave Fear Dragon during the beta was accurate, as we saw it in a casted game. But it's incorrect because it took him 8 months to make the fact, and things have changed since then, and we've had like 1 billion balance patches.
Yeah, Fear Dragon. Such a meanie.
So just defending myself while we're live because I can. Nice pressure here from the Marines. I can't believe this is actually in range of the extractor, so once again shut down another gas out of Nerchio. Gets a little bit scary, gets a little bit risky, but he does continue to keep these units alive through the attempted rescue units, Lings and Roaches and Ravagers alike. Drop to the south, gonna drive the army out of position once again, and uThermal's still killing that gas.
Yeah, he's gonna get the gas. And it's not happening, Nerchio, it's not happening. I'm gonna try and get it forth.
Fetch happen. It's not gonna happen.
Yeah, these 2 drops, only Marines, and they're not doing a lot of damage. They're not getting into the mineral lines or something like that, but they're getting on top of the gases, they get on top of an infestor, they actually get it.
Getting the infestor is a huge trade-off there for just the Marine. The medevac's not even in danger of going down. Flies away, one to the north also gets picked up, and uThermal's harass has certainly paid off. Nerchio's got a massive army supply, make no mistake. We're coming into this with 130 supply as a lead for Nerchio. But the question is whether that's going to be effective supply or not. His gas was severely cut out through a lot of this. Roaches and Ravagers and Lings alike caught out in the middle of the map for free, no less. Oh, no.
We do have a counterattack, though, that did end up working out. There's actually not much here.
I think Nerchio's the one who's going to have to go home, though. I feel like tanks on the high ground, coupled with a couple of medevacs, should be able to defend for uThermal. Whereas Nerchio can't necessarily stop this huge bioforce, much less the tanks that accompany it. Going up here on the high ground, shots getting fired. Infestors, if they go down, there's not going to be any fungal growth. The one fungal, in fact, misses. Oh, no.
Oh, yeah, this is looking pretty good for uThermal. The rest of Nerchio's army is coming back, but actually getting met by the other half of uThermal's army as well. He saved the 3rd CC, and he's getting concaved on pretty hard. And she's going to have to pick up. There you go.
He can get away from it. There's no natural anti-air. There's no infestors to put infested Terrans on or anything like that. And I guess you point out he did save the 3rd, lost a couple of depots for it. So a bit of damage traded for a bit of damage. But this was something where I really thought uThermal was going to get further ahead. And if he did, that could have been where the game ends. But now we're moving to Hive Tech. We got the Ultralisk Cavern started. More infestors are on the way. This is going to be a better game for Nerchio, I feel, the longer this game goes.
Quick check, and uThermal does not know about the Ultralisk Cavern and does not know even about, like, the lair. So he could be actually getting the pace of the game a little bit wrong. I mean, Nerchio did just have to spend a lot of money on remaking an army that could, you know, just make sure he didn't get snowballed and actually die. but he still has enough of a decent enough economy to get to those ultras, even if it's not the same production tab we've seen in some other games where it's 3/3 plus adrenal glands plus everything else. uThermal is going to start dropping as opposed to doing any direct push. I don't know if like not breaking on these rocks is actually good or not, and I wonder if anyone will bother breaking them down to get to, a bit faster in reinforcement line, but we'll see what each other's plans are. Fortunately, the medevacs do just go down instantly. Nerchio had eyes on that, I think, from this Overlord, so from the get-go, basically. And that was just very unfortunate for uThermal.
Oh, man. There's just so many things that are unfortunate for uThermal right now, though. Like, he doesn't stop with his one or two things here. His army's looking good, and it can fight that current Ravager army in the south probably with relative ease, but this really does come down so much to those ultras, to the chitinous plating, and more importantly, to the 3/3 that's going to accompany them.
And now his Vision Tab's looking a lot scarier. As uThermal, I think, like, gosh, maybe even every single game, he's either died or won before 3/3 has started, or just simply not bothered getting 3/3. He's always prioritized getting the starports and the liberators a little bit faster. This is actually a really good attack, and unfortunately caught the Marines a little off guard. They're completely surrounded. They didn't have any medevacs to help them out, and that third base will have to be lifted. Maybe the SUs will be able to get out. Yeah, it looks like some of them will be able to, and the attack is still going on for uThermal. Gets a couple of Overlords, not quite supply blocking Nerchio. Catches an Ultralisk without that plating, but then gets fungled. Oh dear God. Oh, that was almost good.
Well, that's going to be a huge dip in supply. He picks up with a lot of the army, gets out of there to regroup with what little he has left on the other side of the map. Losing the third once again, point out, but does have the commands that are still alive.
Oh, man.
Actually, no, I take that back. That's one from the main coming over. Did he actually lose the third?
No, the main's still there.
Oh, there you go. It just looked weird because of the giant space in the main on the
Yeah.
mini-map. I thought he had lifted it.
I wanted to point out that Nerchio is almost brought it up, so the next time uThermal has to lift that command center, he might just have creep underneath it.
Yeah, that tumor's right there.
Yeah, that's getting a little scary. But speaking of the main command center, it does have to lift soon. It's completely oversaturated. Again, no 3/3 from these engineering bases. A little bit worrying as well. And I think it's even more worrying because there's no liberators. Like, uThermal should just lose this game. Oh, there goes his third.
Yeah, and there's that creep tumor to take its place too. Tank's gonna snipe it off actually, so creep's not gonna be a problem necessarily, but there's still so many other problems going on outside of the creep on that one base, and a lot of that really just has everything to do with Nerchio being too far out of control this game.
The drops are starting to do some damage. Now, unfortunately, not a lot of drones over here to slaughter, and the lanes do come in time, but there's still no easy anti-air. These drops could continue to live and do more damage, actually doing a nice job as the Spore Crawler repositions, and it's getting quite a few drones. Nerchio is not quite at like a huge bank where it's like easy peasy replacement, and it's also buying uThermal some time. Like, so his third base does get over to or his main gets over to the third. It did have to oddly position himself because that creep tumor did eventually spread out, but I guess now he has to move his natural. That's completely oversaturated, but unfortunately more creep spread over here, and all the drops look like they have been cleaned up.
So I turned my mic up a little bit. I hope I didn't go too far with it.
I don't hear a difference.
Okay, let me tweak it up even further. I hope that sounds a little bit better. Test.
I think that's different. I think that's higher.
I see stream. I know my mic's low just innately, so I'm trying to match what should be your sound. But anyways, the fungal growth, the corrosive biles, the ultralisk, everything is just a little too far gone, and I think that this is finally going to be game.
Yeah. Oh, that command center. Boom. GG.
All right, so it's a nice 4-3 lead now for Nerchio. These guys keep going back and forth, so I wouldn't be surprised if the next game went in uThermal's favor.
A, B, C, D, E. E. Eris.
All right, well, we'll go to a small break while we get the map set up, guys. Give us a time or two to adjust some things on our end as well, so don't go anywhere. Just 2 minutes, and we'll see you soon. You better not have that same stupid break screen.
What else do you think I have?
How do you not... Like, I've put... Oh, God damn it.
You've never given me anything else. Look at it! Look at it! Hello, everyone. That was around 2 minutes.
Ish. Hopefully.
Ish. Probably a little bit more. But we're ready. We're going to Eris, because uThermal didn't say no. Basically.
All right. Yeah, so then... I guess whenever the players are ready.
Yeah, and they're ready. Everyone's in. Let's get into the game. Oh my goodness. So
Everyone
it's
says the coolest break screen ever. No, it's not. I made that picture for a joke. I don't even know why you use it.
Well, you know, I had another out-of-game screen that I made myself. That Rifkin also had to give me something to use, so I could bring that back out.
Terrible. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. The score continues to bounce back and forth. He's currently down at the present moment. We'll see if he can bring it back in this game. At the bottom right side of Iris, we've got the blue Terran player, uThermal.
In the top left, as the red Zerg, he's a Nerchio.
So Iris has actually produced some pretty cool games so far. Nothing so much that I'm like, oh my god, this is like the best map we've ever seen, but we've seen some pretty interesting ones on it. The problem I see with this map right off the bat, though, is this up here. You've got this very awkward double ramp to worry about. So you almost, I feel, if you're playing against Zerg especially, you have to wall off. You can't play greedy with this.
Yeah. Just highlighting that there is like a little like in between, I suppose, but it actually has a couple of unbuildable rocks on it.
Yeah, it's almost tempting to be able to wall down there. Now, I'm trying to remember the name of the map maker. I think it's Kentuva.
Is it?
It goes by Uvan Tank or something like that on Team Liquid, I believe.
Oh no, I closed it. Damn it.
Okay, well, I'm pretty sure that's who it was. Will you open that back up? Because he was one of the ones we had on stream the other day with -0.
Yeah.
But at any rate, when we get into the further details of the map, I mean, there's rocks to your natural, to your third. There's extra pathways that can be opened up, and there really is like actually 4 something odd ways through the map.
You were right, by the way. Good call.
Nice.
Yeah.
I've introduced them enough times. I should know at least half of them. I think. Because I know Galactic Process is New Sunshine. I know Gojira Greenhouse is Avax. Like, there's the ones we've seen a lot of that are easy to remember.
Well, this is the map I'd say is most well known for Scarlet vs. Blind getting the ultras stuck up here. So you remember that.
That VOD is on YouTube, and I gotta recommend that. Like, of all the games we've cast in the Team Liquid map contest / BaseTradeTV map contest, like the new Gettysburg game versus BCQD and Lambo, and then the other one being Scarlet versus Bly are the 2 ones I would recommend as the most entertaining.
Whoa. Wow, I didn't realize uThermal, he's going for something super duper greedy, but I guess you can, because there's rocks here, there are rocks here, and then this middle point, he intentionally made Marines instead of a Reaper, so he didn't feel the necessity of, like, you know, sending his only army unit out, basically, and killed the rocks so he can start building, put a bunker there or something. Clever. Well, that's going to give him a big boost in economy. Now, Nerchio can also do something similar. Like, you know, he's got his base, and this base should be pretty secure as well. And if Nerchio was to see how greedy uThermal is being, he could actually either decide to punish it, which I think it's a bit too late for that, actually, or just try and, like, out-greed him, basically. And his Overlord should be seeing this command center finishing up at a very odd time, so he should know it's not as natural.
Well, I guess... bunker coming down, that's so perfect. I am curious to see if this will lock Nerchio out. The thing about Nerchio, though, like, he's not a guy who's hitting you with banelings and lings, right? Like, he's not banling busting your wall. He's not hitting you with a ling all in. He's going to be coming with, like, a big concentrated force that one bunker alone won't stop. That, or he'll play really, really greedy back at home and get to that hive tech that uThermal seems so unable to deal with.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, I'm really interested in this because uThermal, as I constantly remark and constantly compliment in these casts, he's one of the Terran players I think has some of the best control in StarCraft 2, especially in the foreign scene right now. I would even rank him up there with Koreans when it comes to his micro capabilities at his best. But that makes me question, like, why don't we see this guy going more for things like Ghosts? Like, are the threat of Infestors just too much out of a player like Nerchio? Like, are Liberators really, truly the only answer he has to that late game?
I guess it's the one he thinks is the best. So unfortunately, uThermal, he's doing, I guess, he's like, his mid-game aggression's obviously very good, his drops are good, but he's not the type of Terran that's willing to say, okay, I guess you're going to Ultras, let me, like, turtle. It seems like he's saying, okay, I guess you're going to get to Ultras, let me try and do a push with Liberators first, and then I just kind of give up after that. Because other Terrans, they'll be like, okay, the push didn't work, I guess we're gonna go to Ultras in late game. I have to get, you know, starports for Liberators, but I also have to get like a 4th base, and maybe even like a 5th and a 6th if you boost your QD, and you turn them into orbitals, and you get your SimCity up, and maybe eventually add on a Goes Academy, and you really play a turtle game. uThermal has so far not really wanted to do that. He's been trying to be at least aggressive enough that Nerchio never snowballs with a late game army, but unfortunately it's not working. Either it kills him in the mid game or it doesn't really kill him at all. I don't think did Nerchio actually see this? I've been constantly checking his vision. So for a long time, Nerchio didn't even really know or confirm uThermal had a natural. Then he saw this one, and then I think shortly after an SCV popped out and showed his Overlord this one too. And of course now he sees the gas. So he knows it was a 3rd CC build, but it was so like oddly timed with his Overlord Scout that he might think it was like factory and then command center. Like I don't think he knows how greedy it actually was, but uThermal's gotten away with it. Nerchio, in similar fashion, is has 3 bases and enough drones. Probably could have played a little greedier if he really knew, like maybe even a 4th base already. But you also want to be able to break down these rocks before starting to really push forward and outward, which are taking quite a while.
I like they did knocking it in the rocks. Not only is this going to open up the opportunities to get to 4th and 5th easier and faster, but it also opens opportunities to get around a Terran army that might be pushing on the left side through the middle. You need to get around them. You need to set up that flank. So I like the idea for Nerchio to open up those opportunities early on. For uThermal, though, I mean, getting away with 3 bases is something kind of expected now with Legacy of the Void. So it's not like, oh my god, he played this super crazy, insane build. But I do like that he played to the strength of this map. He took advantage of that choke early on, and he's used the rocks for the defense since then. My question, though, is like, how much macro is he going to put into this? Because I feel you really cannot give a player like Nerchio too much room to breathe. We've already got the Infestation Pit on the way, and if this goes even further and deeper to Hive, and uThermal still hasn't even dropped a single time or attacked once, Nerchio's going to have such a good time. So we finally have the attack starting up here in the upper right side. Just Marines for now. Stim, no combat shields.
Yeah. And unfortunately, with how greedy it was, I mean, it was 3cc after barracks. Like, yeah, there wasn't going to be any aggression early on. And at some point, Nerchio probably didn't even have to scout the 3rd CC to know that was the case, because there was no tank drop, there was no Banshees, there was no double medevac drop, all things that uThermal has done in the past 7 games, but not this one. So he realized, of course, and confirmed to the Overseer just how, like, the production was only just getting ramped up. He saw these barracks, and then he saw these ones only just finishing, and knew that he had some time to get to that Hive, which is almost halfway down already. And uThermal, he has to push before the Ultras are ready, but I think he'll be able to before plating is done, and he might be able to, like, really, really hard. I mean, this is like a ton of bioproduction, because he's really not bothered with a factory. You can really afford quite a few more Marauders and just, in general, barracks. That's what, 9 barracks? Yeah.
I mean, production is looking pretty sound. uThermal, I don't think... A lot of these games haven't come down to a problem with production. I mean, constantly sending 4 Marauders, 8 to 10 Marines. Like, that's good Terran production. That's kind of almost where we're at right now.
Yeah. It's not too surprising to see uThermal play a couple of different styles, of course. Same for Nerchio, although Nerchio's playing, like, mostly a consistent style. But, to actually decidedly not go for tanks or for Liberators, to go just pure bio, you're going to have a lot to work with, but then you're going to also have, like, not a lot of splash, or any splash really at all. I think you had, like a single Widow Mine, and you are pushing off the counters to those Ultras, because you can only do so much with mass bio, especially if you mess up once. If you get fungled once, if you don't stutter step once, they're gonna actually just kill your army. Which is getting pretty big, by the way. Look at this. It's a lot of Marines. And as I said, I think he was going to be able to hit before plating was done, but it's going to be very close. So Nerchio, I think, is just going to have to... He's going to be very careful. Don't attack him before plating, or he's just going to lose all of his Ultras, and that's exactly what uThermal would want. But he might have to give a base to do that. It's just a very big bio army. They're both maxed out, but... Damn. Nothing but bio.
I'm really worried about a lot of these chokes. I mean, I can just see so many... Like, I'm sitting here like... Well, hang on, we'll hold that thought for now. We got the attack coming in. Pretty nice surround. Fungal growth to coat the right side of the army. Corrosive Bowels hitting the left side. Not enough medevacs healing on the other side of the army. The Lings are starting to break this. But as the Lings start disappearing, that's when the Marauders are really going to be able to focus on those Ravagers. However, not enough left, and he does decide to back away.
That fungal and all of the medevacs probably hurt a large portion of his left side army, and unfortunately he also, it looks like, messed up his upgrade just the tiniest little bit. Didn't have +2 armor to help out there either.
It may not matter, though, with what's on deck. We don't see Liberators in production. We still see a lot of medevacs. In fact, there might be too many medevacs at this point. The Ultras are spawning in any moment, and I mean, it's too late to transfer into Liberators if there's already 40 Ravagers sitting around waiting to gross and bow them down.
He's gonna have to just hope his focus fire on the ultras is good enough, because it looks like they are gonna be able to get plating, and I just don't know if that's gonna be enough.
I mean, okay, so what I was trying to get into before the fight began, we got this happening again. Crystal Bow's raining from above, hitting some of the medevacs, but not all the medevacs. So the concave out of uThermal wouldn't be so bad if there wasn't this Ultralisk on that front line.
Plating isn't quite done, so it was almost focus fired to death. But it's like seconds away, as you can see, just 3, 2, 1 type of deal, and uThermal is not even engaging anymore, so he's not going to get the opportunity to call the Ultralisk numbers, and Nerchio, he actually has a bit of a bank, so he's easily replacing any that would go down. He's on 5 bases, actually, at 76 SCVs, or drones. uThermal at 68 SCVs, and an actual 4th on the way. This would be great if it was also paired up with the Liberators, but once again, it's not, and it's like you can either go for one or the other, but not both. He's not quite turtling hard enough in any game that he gets to the late game. And I mean, mass bio, we've seen it work with like great stutter step if the Zerg doesn't get fungals or they don't use their lings correctly to get surround. But I think that Nerchio is actually sitting up for surround right now.
Yeah, I don't think he's even going to have the time to focus fire, what with the Ravagers being where they are. A couple shots going to that one Ultra, it's not too low, going to get set up on this ramp. He's going to get caught from both sides of this pincer. One of the Ultras might get focused down. He's doing some pretty good job. I mean, this goes back to uThermal crediting his control and complimenting on how he plays this, but with those 5 potential fungal growths ready to go at any second, he could lose his whole army in one small mistake.
Oh my god, boost, 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 oh my god.
Oh my god, yes.
Okay, so theirs didn't go so badly. Like, there wasn't a real surround, although it got very, very close, and the fungals didn't hit. So that was his one opportunity to really get those Ultras down and out, but Nerchio has an even bigger bank than just a minute ago. Oh my god, it's so big.
That fungal growth going to hit most of the army, and the Ultras are just choking on them. They're getting stuck outside the base, and we see the Marauders trying to take advantage of that, but the army supply has now dipped almost half. In fact, less than half now. GG gets called, and Nerchio will take a 5-3 lead in the series. Maybe I should have kept my bet at 8-3 at this rate.
I mean, you didn't change it, did you? You just said
no,
you're surprised? Yeah. We'll see.
Again, all 15 maps are being played regardless of what the score looks like, guys. So, gonna go to a small break again while we set up this next lobby. Thank you for sticking with us. Sorry for the hiccups with the production, stream, and all this stuff. Thank you, Zombie Up, for streaming, and we'll see you guys in a couple of minutes.
It's had mostly mid-game. Yeah, mostly mid-game attacks. Or games on it. One late game. Oh, that was a mistake. Supply depot canceled. Oopsie.
Well, just to note as well, again, reminding everybody about the prize pool for this, $50 per win. So, while uThermal's certainly on the outs right now from winning the actual series, and it's far from over. Again, you've got to win 8 games. Nerchio has to still win 3 more to lock this down for the 800 versus 1,000 default. There's still quite a bit of money to be made for second place. And I'm really glad that they let us space this out. It's a little bit different than normal, sure, but we want to make sure players got a bunch of money for playing. So that 3rd, 4th place match later today is also going to be worth $500 and $600, respectively.
Yeah. That Reaper wanted to die, but it still didn't. I don't know how it zigzagged through there. Thanks to Lycidus89 for the 4-month resub.
Lycidius89. Yeah, I don't know.
Lycidah.
I was liking for a second. When you started saying it, I had to actually go look. I'm like, how did you pronounce that so wrong?
Yeah, how am I pronouncing that so wrong? Lychkensnai. Alright.
It's like you sneezed halfway through and had a bit of a stroke, like a little bit of each. But okay, we do have Barracks coming out and uThermal heading for Stimpack. I gotta say, it is his earlier timings that have been his strength through his victories. There hasn't really been a lot of like super late gameplay that has gone in his favor, so I gotta imagine that same sort of mentality is applying here on Frozen Zone. Like, it doesn't really, like, ignoring the style of map for just a moment, no matter what map you're playing on, I think uThermal's gonna feel a million times better getting damage done early to Nerchio than having to deal with those Ultras later on.
Yeah, absolutely. It is a, if BCQD and uThermal could, like, combine forces, I think they'd be great. Like the ultimate mid-game and the late game, but fortunately they can't, so.
BC also plays considerably more mech and Sky Terran than uThermal does too. Not to say that uThermal's not capable of it, but it's just such crazy stylistic differences.
Mm-hmm. uThermal is, I guess, TvZ used to be the matchup that he just could not figure out, and it was almost painful watching him not be able to figure out in Heart of the Swarm. Legacy of the Void, I think he's a lot more comfortable with tanks, and that was like one of the problems. Heart of the Swarm just really did not play well with tanks. So he's doing better in the matchup as a whole, but late game is kind of still a questionable mark for any Terran at all. Like, some people are more comfortable than others, sure, and they'll play that super long turtly game, or they'll have really good ghost usage, or they'll actually hit those timings really well before, like, you know, plating is done or something like that. But most of the time, if ultras come out, it is a big problem, and uThermal has just not found the secret way to actually beat the Zerg back. Although his drops are, like, you know, they're ever so close to really spiraling out of control. They're not really. Not in the late game. We'll see what this early drop can do, though. I do not believe it was scouted. Nerchio, he got those overloads in position once again, but just, you know, didn't really bother scouting, so he will miss the overlords, or the overlords will miss the medevacs coming out here. Nothing in the middle. I think they went right through those Onagas. Oh my god, yeah, there's like this one little space.
Let's hope he doesn't backtrack. Thank you, Backtrack 1, for the 17-month resub.
Way to go.
That's a terrible segue. I regret everything. This is the map, too. I forgot where things were getting stuck in the middle of the map. The, inside those buildings.
Oh, yes, you're right. Yeah, I was showing a minute, but this almost went down. I'm getting drones for it, though.
Yeah, so that was an interesting choice out of Nerchio. He decides to pull the drones into it to prolong the life a little bit longer, but uThermal realizing there's just not a lot of army. Focus fires down each of the roaches. Target fires the drones to get 9 more kills in total. And now that hatchery's still in danger of going down. Should too much be brought back to the main to defend on this location. But the Queen's not going to get the kill she's looking for. Drones getting pulled away once again, and this attack out of uThermal has done a significant amount of damage for how little was invested into it.
Yeah. Of course, behind this, 3rd CC, double engineering bay, and of course the combat shields. But that didn't kill the 3rd. Killed 10 drones is still pretty nice. Like, 50 is not a very good count for Zerg. Nerchio might still be able to recover. Now to take a quick look, I guess, in the middle of the map. Where is that, actually? It was here? They were getting stuck?
No. Oh, maybe the map was changed. I remember...
Yeah, wasn't it like in the middle?
It was like a weird building that looks like it's been removed.
it was beside the gold. Yeah, it was this thing, I'm pretty sure. So they changed it so you couldn't get stuck in there anymore. I guess they couldn't fix it otherwise.
That's a good solution in my opinion, yeah.
Okay.
Because it was silly. We had a Marine and a Marauder in this place that couldn't be touched by any melee units.
Yeah. Thank you to Phoenix636 for the 13-month resub. We see another double drop going out here. I'm going to go for that 4th base. I'm not sure if anyone realized that was going to be the 4th base, because, well, I guess that would be the most reasonable, besides breaking on the rocks and taking the one in the back. But he will be able to find it. He'll see the creep, and he'll get on top of this little ledge here, and if there were drones mining, he'd certainly be able to kill them.
The roaches coming back are going to be kind of interesting. If they funnel in one at a time like we see, that's when the Marines can actually take a fight. Oh, unloading a bit awkwardly.
A little bit.
But this is where those Ravagers finally start getting more important. You start forcing positions on the medevacs, and you can't just kind of sit there idly with them. Now, I mentioned before, uThermal did a lot of damage for the cost of that drop earlier, especially considering he didn't lose anything for it, but that hatchery still lives. I'm not sure if he's considering going back to finish it off or not, but just kind of floating around the edge of the map. He's going to be looking for opportunities to kill drones, I think.
This is where that drop's going.
Oh, I love this stuff. I love this setup. The 2 roaches and the 2 Ravagers will not be enough to stop this army. Meanwhile, Nerchio's busy looking elsewhere because uThermal's going to be perhaps breaking down the back rocks, attacking the Overlord. I think that extractor you could actually even hit from the low ground.
You had like a tank?
I think the Marines could just hug that cliff, no?
Really? I don't think it's that close.
It's pretty close. I'm pretty sure that can reach the extractor.
You're looking at my camera, right? You're looking at the right one.
I'm talking about the one in the main.
Oh, I was like, what the hell? Okay. Yeah, that actually
the very
might
obvious one to hit, not the one that's just stretching.
Well, you were on my camera, so I was like, what are you talking about? Anyway.
Right, drop in the main is distracting, but not enough that Nerchio's forgotten about this drop. So he did pick this up to walk it away, but now just kind of dancing behind the high ground vision the grass provides. 1-1 is seconds from finishing, 10 in fact to be exact. Maybe waiting for that to go in for the fight. He just have to back away with this right side drop.
Yeah, nothing actually going down. Nerchio does split pretty well. But, you know, uThermal, he's been macroing. He's got tanks now to send up in those medevacs. His 3rd base has been mostly saturated, and production is on the way. Upgrades are fairly even. Nerchio, once again, with the melee upgrades, make his Ling surprisingly effective, despite the bulk of his army looking to be those roaches. This is very similar to a lot of the other games, and Nerchio has done a great job defending multi-pronged attacks, as well as the main attack that we see here. In fact, this main attack not looking very strong at all. The tanks provide, you know, a little bit of something, because they can be microed around. No fungal on them. Oh, spoke too soon.
If Nerchio didn't actually have armor upgrades right now, those tanks would have been far more effective. But the drop in the main does manage to unload. 2 medevacs worth up here with Marines. Going to focus fire these down. Stim a little bit late to the party. And that medevac's soaking a lot of the Spore Crawler hits. Meanwhile, attacking the natural. And uThermal's got Nerchio fighting in 3 different locations. But as we know from DreamHack, Nerchio's fine attacking in 3 locations at the same time. So it takes care of the drop at the bottom right, drives off the natural, and cleans up the main. All while uThermal prepares a main push that's actually being defended by Nerchio. The multitasking out of both these players right now is off the walls.
Nerchio just had a very, very good split of army, and that's really hard to do, I feel, with roaches. Like, so often they just get overwhelmed by bio, especially once those upgrades kick in. He's gonna try and get a couple of infestors, and that's pretty nice. Actually gets almost all of them, yeah, all of them, but loses the drop for it, and that's all of his drops gone now. Like, all the medevacs either came back or they died to a fungal corrosive bile combo. This is not a very powerful main army. Nerchio still 20 supply up in that army. He's got those faster upgrades, and Ultra's Governor is already on the way out. Now, this looks a bit scarier for uThermal, but that's still like an army he doesn't really, I guess, want to contest with. There are no more infestors after he killed them, so maybe this would have been an opportunity to try and trade, but not going for it.
That's going to be a bummer for the Terran, by the way. You watch uThermal do such powerful attacks in 4 locations and barely scratch his opponent. Like, that speaks leaps and bounds for how good Nerchio is, but also displays just how talented uThermal is at the same time. Yeah. Loving the way this game's playing out. Loving this map for it, too, in these spawn locations. But links do get cleaned up and not going to get the tank. That would have been a nice pick off. But we're at that point of the game now where I start feeling like this is going to tilt in the favor of Nerchio. As we do get to Hive Tech, we're getting towards Ultras, something uThermal just really has not beaten a single time in this series so far. Yeah.
He's already on his way to Liberators. That's something we've seen before. Still no 4th CC. And I really think this is the point where you just are like, okay, 11 minutes, I've been pushed back. Does he have a Hive? He saw the Infestation Pit. Oh, actually saw the Hive as well. And the Ultra's Government. I guess something got in there. So now I just have to like, either turtle or try and win. And if this push doesn't work, then he'll probably just lose the game, actually, because he is not really getting set up on the backside. He's not getting extra command centers or, you know, quadruple Liberator production or anything like that.
Kind of pretty much like at that point where you're almost out of juice.
Yeah. Yeah, almost. Now, what's odd is he could probably take this back base with the command center, but of course those rocks aren't broken down yet. Scans and sees nothing at the 4th base, but is not going to take the obvious bait, I suppose. Wants to take on the army.
This watchtower is such a sick spot to sit down on, and if you can force a fight around it, that would be the best case scenario for uThermal, but this is still a situation where there's no matter how much he splits himself up, Nerchio is probably going to be able to respond. We actually see Nerchio just kind of moving on the left side. Not sure if this is setting up for a really sick flank or a base trade. But either way, uThermal does have quite the amount of units on Nerchio's side of the map that he cannot underestimate. 3-3 is going to be probably not done for the bio anytime soon, actually. Just looking at those upgrades.
Yeah, looks like it's going to cause uThermal to draw back. This is an army that could definitely beat the one Nerchio had split up, so if he catches them in a bad position, I think this will be a good trade, but actually no, it turns into a bit of a sandwich. Liberators aren't siege, tanks aren't really getting a very good position at all, and Fungals are going down in that army as well, and this sandwich worked out great for Nerchio. That's not enough bio left over. There's still 3 Ultras, lots of Ravagers to be in here.
SimCity might help him out a little bit, depending on how this focus fire goes.
Yeah, the stims were hurting his own bio too much. You know, if it was like 15 Marauders, I'm like, go for it. But they were already low, and there was quite a few Marines. He's actually going to try and draw Nerchio back to try and save his 3rd base. Probably a better move than just trying to get into the main and hold up there. Looks like he's going to lose a lot of production. 30C obviously lifted. The drops on top of Lings, which isn't ideal. So a couple of units are going down, but still getting the drop down. Could target fire that 3rd. That should have gone down so much like in the beginning of this game, but an ult just pops out to help defense, and this drop it brings back the army, but only after the army just wrecked his 3rd.
GG's gonna get called nonetheless. Looks like Nerchio will continue his lead now in this series, 6-3, toppling over uThermal. But that's not gonna be the end of it just yet. There's still quite a bit more to play out as we're doing all 15 maps today, but we are well over the halfway point. I'm thinking I'm going to try and contact Beastie and Neeb and just tell them to start playing their games, and we'll hopefully have them done ASAP so we can just cast the replays right away. But we're going to take a small break while we do this. Galactic Process is going to be the new map, and we'll see you guys in a few minutes. Thank you for watching.
Alright, hey. Just going to ask the players if they're ready, and we're going to get into Galactic Process, which is next in the alphabetical order.
Yeah, Galactic Process is actually the map that does resemble and look a lot like Cloud Kingdom. It's actually been a very good map. This is a map I would love to see make it through to the ladder of some of these. And it might be boring because it is so similar to Cloud Kingdom, But I do like that there's been no glaring issues, that this has not just been a safe map, but a pretty well-designed map overall.
Yep. This might be a map where uThermal can try and Reaper, so there's a bit of a debate between Basic Cutie and Lambo, was it? Oh, they're ready. About whether it was good or not, and there's like various reasons as to why it could be good.
They actually also tweaked some of the locations, so like you can still Reaper in from pretty much every spot on the map, but they did change the cliffing very slightly to make it less abusive. I still think, though, the current version they have is, it to me looks no different, but...
Yeah, we'll get more into that as we get into the game to actually show the little cliff and see if uThermal has any sneaky plans. So far, I don't see a CV.
I hope he does have some sort of plans, though, because, I mean, being down 6-3 is a pretty tough score, and at this point, even if you've abandoned hope and you're like, I don't even care about first, second place. Oh, he might just actually have that. Even if you don't care about first or second place, there's still money for each win in this tournament. And this is a map where I think for Terran, you should abuse for that win one way or the other. But spawning in the upper right, not staying at home, sending those SCVs out really quick, it is going to be the red Terran player, uThermal.
Oh, do not send him right into that Overlord path. Oh, this is awkward. In the bottom left is the blue Zerg. He is Nerchio, and he's about to see the Rax location.
Is he? Is that close enough?
That are you serious?
Not...
Oh, no, it is. Okay. Oh. I was like, it is so close.
I checked the vision. It was like not in the vision, like by a pixel or something.
It's just, uThermal saw the Overlord like once. So that's actually pretty important. If you can actually get them to not see your Overlord, that could be like, it's like the best scenario for a Zerg.
But here's the question now. Does simply seeing this give him enough information and time to react appropriately? uThermal knows, I think he was scouted too.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, confirmed by Poops.
All right, so that is a good question, though, because Nerchio, he didn't see it fast enough to, like, you know, be like, oh, I got to slap down a pool first. He still went for a hatchery first, and it's just that far away that pulling the drones to stop it probably still wouldn't be worth it. So it's not like a situation where if you scout it, you're like, okay, I guess I have to tap out now, like, this is a failed attack. And with multiple Reapers, like, I feel like it's almost never a failed attack, unless they get us around, or you just keep on losing Reapers because your micro is bad. Like, this can actually continue for a very, very long time. And I think it's actually a lot more tough, it's a lot tougher for the Zerg, especially if you can get a bunker up here, which is exactly what uThermal really wants to do. So Nerchio already, I think that's the benefit of scouting this, is that you can set a drone to patrol for those bunkers and not just let it, you know, go down and never notice.
Yeah, actually, it's funny you bring that up because it was very specifically Nerchio who would do that drone patrol, if you remember, for like the entirety of HOTS. He was like the only one. He would never get caught off guard by any sort of 2-racks, all because of it, too. So a bit of a throwback there, a bit of a throwback-styled map. But anyways, Reapers are dancing around, and Nerchio's got Lynx coming out. He's got a Spine Crawler coming down here in the main, because you just can't put it anywhere else. Roach Ward's finishing up shortly, too, but I do want to stress that 3 Reapers can beat Roaches. It's Ravagers that make this a lot easier to contest.
Yeah, and Nerchio already did not cancel a Spine Crawler, so I feel like that was quite painful to watch. Yeah. He's trying to put one down. Good micro from uThermal on that one. Really weak Reaper. And of course, with 3 Reapers at a time, it's just going to snowball so quickly. Like, these kills on the very first Reapers can actually be, like, game-changing. And unfortunately, Nerchio has not gotten any. So 4, 5 already. Queen going to go down.
Queen. He can focus the Spine Crawler if he wants to with the grenades. Yeah.
Yeah.
Shoot those, walk away. Drone's not mining anything right now. Nerchio's got a very finite amount of Roaches coming up. 4 should be okay. Interesting to watch him focus on the gas, though, because now Nerchio can't build any Ravagers.
Yeah.
And like I said before, Ravagers are the way to really shut this down. If you want to watch Reapers just like do it terribly, you go for a couple of Ravagers.
Oh,
but
wow. How
looks like he will hold on to the gas.
Yeah, but oh man, that back attack, you know, kind of accidental because they were coming from the natural hatchery. I thought that was going to kill at least one Reaper, and it didn't, so... still, like, snowbally here. Nerchio can't even get that much gas, you know, just being denied gas, not putting guys back in gas, because of course you're microing everywhere else is going to be a real problem. And he's actually going to shoot drones?
Well, this can get the hatchery, which is astounding, but then again, it's giving Nerchio that time to mine, giving him time to build more units in the main, so maybe this becomes more manageable as a consequence. I mean, the drones we made are like, okay, I think that was a severe mistake, but still, the hatchery going down is pretty dangerous. Now, there's many ways up this cliff, but only one will be covered by that spine, so the Roach is going to have to move around and counter every other spot.
Yeah, there's so many locations, so... You know, I could see why Lambo was kind of like, is it really that good for Reapers? And, you know, okay, there's something to say about that, especially if they're not proxied, because it's kind of a long map.
If uThermal lifts one of his barracks and just uses it for high ground vision, I mean, he could actually take that cliff face. Just
I
being able to throw
think
grenades up there first is huge.
yes, absolutely. He also, okay, we'll scan. So that was the other option. Yeah, but it's also just like, you know that their economy's not looking so good. You know the gas wasn't looking so good. So eventually,
they just can't take
yeah,
this.
eventually the Reapers will just win in numbers, which is kind of silly.
Really well played. Nerchio, that sucks because he scouted it, but now 6-4, and uThermal throws my predictions completely out the window officially. But that's good for him because now he's not going to go down without fighting. And I mean, this would have been really sad to see this go actually 8-3. But 6-4 is a much better score. It's Nerchio's pick next. Are they both really just doing alphabetical though? Like for real?
No,
one's like,
Nerchio only did that once.
Oh, okay.
Everything else has been his specific choice. That's why I bothered to list it out for him.
Okay,
Oh, New
well,
Gettysburg.
I really like New Gettysburg, and because this might just be a long game, we're definitely going to take a break before we get into it. So don't go anywhere, guys. We'll be back in a few minutes with... This is the map with the island bases, if you recall. We'll see you soon.
Alright, we are ready to go into New Gettysburg as the 11th map. Yes.
Yeah, this will be really interesting. I do want to really quickly draw some attention to something cool. It's a new feature on Twitch. I learned that you can't do this from VODs. You can only do this when you're live on the channel. But there's a new thing on Twitch called clips, and I've actually had a couple people tweet us clips that they've taken from the series so far. So I'll tell you what, guys, I think clips are really cool, and I really wish people would do them more. And I love that it's done through Twitch and not some like third-party program. So if you guys actually get any cool clips of like a moment that a really sick drop happens or something cool goes down, tweet them at us. I will retweet the shit out of those, and we'll share them on stream too if they're really good. But ladies and gentlemen, welcome to New Gettysburg. I can tell you the author of this map. It's Jackie, because this is my personal favorite map. In the bottom left side, he's got 4 points on the board. I give you the blue Terran player, uThermal.
In the bottom right, as the red Zerg, he is Nerchio.
Okay, so I don't know if you want to show this off really quick. There's this long, skinny bridge in the middle of the map. It's very, very similar to that of Arena, but obviously the map is much bigger than Arena, so it's a much bigger bridge. But this bridge also has some neighboring things with these strange island bases. 4 island bases to be precise, but they all have air blockers. Now, these have some cool effects to them. One is, like, it causes a lot of derpiness. I feel like the island bases should actually be to the north of the map. And I say this only because the rally of, like, overlords and liberators and everything gets stuck in the middle where you would naturally rally your units right now. But if you did that, then you wouldn't have this really cool rush distance around the top side that's been made here. So there's a lot of ifs, ands, or buts about the map. It's nowhere close to balance. The AI of the game simply doesn't keep up with the coolness of the air blockers. I don't think this map's going to make the ladder, but this is without a doubt my personal favorite one.
It just might. If they could ever fix the AI, but the AI is actually a big problem. I think it's specifically this corner here and
It's the middle, yeah, this one and the other one.
this one up here too. Like,
Yeah.
it's gonna be a problem. So, actually, like, there's been some crucial moments, like with base trades, where there's like a Viking and a medevac, and they're all stuck down there and whatnot. So that is a problem, but I really liked that dynamic. You know, originally we were kind of like, okay, what is this map going to be like? I got the skinny and then the islands or whatever, but I like the dynamic of if it's a longer game, you have one race or aggressive player using the, like, trying to use the skinnier, faster way of getting over here, like you see the Reaper do, and then you have maybe the defensive person actually going, basically expanding up here and then up here and actually kind of going around the map and eventually just conquering, you know, like land grabbing almost.
Well, we'll see if this ends up going that long direction. We certainly know Nerchio is aware of the way the map can go, and so is uThermal. I know that uThermal, more than anyone else, has been watching some of the VODs for this, and he's been tuning in live to some of the games. You might not really know, but like SR Cavalon in chat, or SCR, no, it's like SRC Avalon. I can't remember. Point is, that's him in Twitch chat. And you've probably seen him hanging out for a couple of casts, so I know he's seen like that Lambo BC game and some of the others. New Gettysburg really hasn't played out the super long version the way we would hope it would, but there's, again, like, look at this third to the natural where that Reaper currently is. You can set up tanks and Marines, you can do drops and reach those geysers. I mean, everything that uThermal's been consistently doing in the series so far, he can apply to this map as well.
I know we do have uThermal going for 111. He's got a tech lab on that factory. It's pretty close to the starport with double gas, so that might be... I don't think it's going to be for Banshees without Hellions. I think it is going to be for the tank drop, which has worked pretty well for him. Of course, it goes into further tank pushes as well. And it's a really nice opener, pretty safe opener. And that is what's happening. The Reaper finally going to get cleaned up as Nerchio needs to take that third base. Of course, for Terran, or for Protoss, but unfortunately not for Zerg. Not so much, anyway. You can wall this off, just like on Arena. Pylon, a supply depot. Obviously, Terran's a little bit better time, because they can lower it. Zerg, if they ever got creeps over here, could put a spine crawler down. And, I mean, eventually it's going to happen, but just not as commonly used. And, I guess a Marine's trying to go scout, but not going to happen. So with the tank drop, there's like and the tank drop in the supply depot that is, there's no real reason you should have to go back with the tank drop, unless the Nerchio does go all the way around up to the Zelnaga and down. So you can't just focus entirely on the push, which is nice for the Terran.
Well, I agree. The fact that this map becomes so linear, I think is going to be better for a lot of different reasons, but of course the number one I can think of is the way this late game keeps going for uThermal. Now this is some of that derpy AI we're talking about, but...
No.
Okay. This really screws with timing, though. This is something you should have been aware of. Okay, so it fixes it now. I was going to mention, though, sorry, the thing that I get worried about through this is you can't send ultras through that middle of the map. That choke simply won't allow it to happen. And if you have to go all the way through the north, that actually gives uThermal so much time to prepare, whereas on other maps, it's just been kind of like, surprise, ultras are out, you weren't ready for this.
Yeah, that's true. Thank you to Spoom for the 30-month resub. That's quite impressive.
Spoom, number one CSGO player in my heart. Maybe not on the rankings, but thank you so much for that resub, dude.
Yeah. And with the tank count hopefully never dying, never decrease, that's the worst thing that could happen, a tank push could be really good through the middle of that map. But he wants to get something else done. Unfortunately, not too much abuse here. Just have to get him in range of those queens to get anything done. Nerchio once again going for the melee upgrades, yet going also for roaches, so not really mixing anything up. I mean, I wonder if at least once in the next, I guess, the remaining 4 games, Nerchio will ever go for mutas. I guess not.
I guess, yeah, I didn't think about that until you just said it, but there hasn't been any muta play this entire set.
No, we saw Spire once because Nerchio thought uThermal was going to be going for Air Mech, and that was a mistake. So it's just like, F Spires, they're useless to me.
Well, I think about that, and I think more so about the fact that there's been no banelings, because of course that's the two you combo together. But anyways, yeah, interesting to think about is we have this tank push getting a little bit out of hand. Picks up this one tank, it's quite low, kind of scary. Wanted that queen kill, not going to get it. And he does start backing away, but the pressure's already been put on. Nerchio's not got a lot of army supply to dance with, and uThermal keeping all this alive is one thing, but it's another to note that he does have a fairly decent amount of macro behind this, so he's got even more army units on deck.
Damn.
Oh, get out of there.
Those tanks are so low. Okay, they're gonna go back, probably, hopefully, get repaired, and uThermal does have his production now getting really ramped up. His third base, pretty safe, but he's gonna bother putting a bunker down there. And, well, yeah, there's Nerchio's Infestation Pit. Oh, and fourth base, not what I meant to click on. But yeah, Infestation Pit. So fungals will be eventually available, even if it is having to wait for those infestors to actually gain the energy. And uThermal just has to hope that his tank timing actually does a lot of damage. Actually picks up without the tanks. Oh, I don't know if Mule should really be repairing. Oh well.
I mean, is the emphasis to get the repair done faster versus economy if you're really looking to push right now, which he kind of is.
But not with the tanks. Like, he's just doing a drop, which is why I think it was questionable. If he was actually pushing, I don't think he would go for the top either, because he goes to the top with the tank push, and he's just going to have to drop them in a concave, which is kind of defeating the point.
That's true, and I guess I expect him to just do this so he could get them back on that front line immediately, but he's not even doing that, so... Yeah, a bit of a waste then. Overlord on the top side does get picked off. I mean, there's not a lot of scouting information up here for Nerchio, and he does get really exposed the further north he goes for these expands. Scans that base, sees the Roaches and Ravagers. Not going to push in here, not just yet.
Yeah, 1-1 only just finished up into a combat shield, so... He could probably, focus fire a Ravager, kind of, like, focus firing a Sentry and get out of there, but... Not much else to be done. Nothing else really happening on the map either that he's distracting for. Just trying to get the Zelnaga. And with the combat just finishing up, I would have thought the push would start. 2-2 also starts up, but still not happening. I do like the second factory. I wonder if I just haven't been noticing that on the production tab. I feel like he actually just hasn't been going for it because he's always been so willing to transfer over into Liberators or just play pure bio. It's never really been heavy tank count late game.
Well, I feel like, especially with the ground weapon upgrades invested here, I think he's trying to do this to play to the map. And this makes me really happy because that's the whole point of these tournaments. Get cool maps that inspire new builds and new ways to play. Top right, bit of a scuffle going down. Not something he can dedicate to, but going back to the topic of 2 tanks and hell, even 3 potentially, I'd love the idea that this map, with a skinny choke in the bottom and the base layout in the terrain being what it is, I think tanks actually rule on this map.
Yeah. I actually like mass tanks as a potential response to Ultralisk. Because if you do find a location that's, you know, around a ledge or to a choke, then if you have like 12 tanks, they're gonna overestimate how good Ultras are and actually just die. So it's not that they're better than Liberators, especially if you can get a high Liberator count, or Ghosts, especially if you can actually even get to Ghosts. But it's something that you're already building upon. And if you don't do any tank pushes that lose you the tank count to begin with, then you're going to have a very big tank count. And that's actually going to be very useful against not just the Ultras, but of course also the Lings with this upgrade. He does go through the top side, which again I noted would be surprising because it opens up to concave, which is where tanks aren't their best. He does try and put them up against the little whatever this is, I suppose, like a, I don't even know, underground place. And that worked out pretty well. They got fungled, but nothing to really follow up on it, so they're all right. It's just not a very big army for Nerchio, and he definitely doesn't want to engage into so many tanks, so he's actually kind of at an impasse right here. He just wants to buy enough time.
I guess it's kind of from the older days, but it's forgotten that tanks are the best thing at zoning out infestors. You really can't put those fungal growths anywhere close to the front line if there's tanks covering this, which then for me says, hey, Ghosts would be even better in this situation, but we're probably not going to see those come out anytime soon. uThermal just doesn't go that direction. Yeah. And I really wish he did, because Ghosts, as we've seen out of players like Beyond and others, they do make Ultras just such a joke to deal with. But the threat of constant fungals, I can understand why not. Now, there's a Night Swarm actually coming down into the main, and uThermal's maxed out on supply, so there's no production that's going to be built to deal with this. He's got to wait for that. He's either got to go home right now or just push. He sees this too, which is the worst part.
Yeah, but you don't really notice it. You're not really looking for it. So unfortunately, that Night Swarm makes that sound, and he's going to decide right here, right now. And once again, it's Ultras that are mostly popping through there, but they're Lings. The Lings are just so much harder to clean up. They're going to actually wreck all of the tech labs and the reactors.
This is worse than losing your economy. It's losing your production. So while this goes on, top right engagement goes down. Fungal growth gets you so much of that army. Some of these tanks aren't even sieged up for the fight. This is like got most of them in the air. Nothing's really fighting through these Ultras, but as they finally start going down, the bio can kill what's left. Wow. There's not a lot left for uThermal, but Nerchio's army supplies easily remaxed. 5 more Ultras on the way. 36 Lings coming out. The only thing holding him back is Larva at this point. Yeah.
7 Ultras are probably going to be enough to deal with this, though, and actually he figures that out. GG. Nothing being done back at home.
Yeah. Really hope we would have seen some island-based play, but now 7-4 for Nerchio in this crazy long series does put him 1 match away from locking down the first part of this, that best of 15 aspect, where you could win $1,000 right then and there. But for uThermal, we still want every map played, $50 earned per map won. So I'm hoping he doesn't go down and out, but if he does, there's still money in it for him.
I wonder what if this would be any different if he was actually choosing his maps, by the way.
I know, like the fact that he's just kind of like YOLO'd it a bit. We're going to go to Gojira Greenhouse next. We're going to play an ad break while we get the lobby set up. So thank you guys for giving us a few minutes to do this, and we'll see you soon.
Hello, welcome back. We are going to get into game, I believe, yes.
Yes, so Gojira Greenhouse coming up next. As we've recently learned, we're not quite doing full alphabetical order, but at the end of the day, I mean, we're going to play every map at any point, like any ways. Quick reminder, though, of just something we had also discussed during the break in private, realizing how badly a lot of the Zergs lost in this tournament. To see Nerchio playing so well is one thing, but to consider it was against uThermal is another. Because uThermal, of course, he defeated Snoot. That wasn't a walkover. That was actually a really good set. That went to like game 9. It was really close. He lost and then came back in a big way. But, you know, Lambo went down 5-0 to Beastie. Scarlet ended up forfeiting, so Bly ended up taking her place, and she went down 0-5 to uThermal. You know, like, this has been a pretty tough tournament for Zerg, despite their balance versus imbalance. But as we see here in the finals, that's not quite the case. But he is on match point. The score is 7-4 against him. In the bottom left side of the map, we got the red Terran player, uThermal.
In the top right, as the blue Zerg, he is Nerchio.
All right, and with an impressive 7 wins under his belt so far, if he wins this game, he will secure first place in the tournament. But that being said, and again, the reminder, it's $50 per map, one, with 15 maps played in total. So we will see all of the maps from all of the map makers. This one is another one of the ones designed by Avex.
Yep.
It is, in my opinion, probably the best one of the 3 he has submitted. Although I do like the way Namaste looks. This one, play-wise, seems to have been the best so far.
I actually think I like Namaste better. I think the one problem with Namaste is that the top half is so much more interesting
than the bottom half, yeah. And the frustrating thing about the bottom half is it reminds me a lot of the current map, Ruins of Endion, where yes, you'll expand there eventually, but there's no really emphasis or like necessity to.
I think it's even worse than Ruins of Endion. Ruins of Endion still creates some like I don't know. It's more interesting to look as like to the eye, I suppose. Like it's a little more cluttered actually. And the problem with Namaste's bottom half is that it's not very cluttered at all. The bases are very spread out. There's actually a lot of space in each base. So like oddly enough, you could have really wide scale battles in the very bottom, but you just would never actually go there to have it. So it's all about the top half, man. It's all about the boobs for that map.
Well, I'm an ass man myself, so that's why.
I guess that's why you don't like it as much as Gojira Greenhouse.
That's where this comes down to. So Gojira Greenhouse, of course, has that really cool aspect in the natural base where it's got that gold wall off. That's a very unique and new idea, and I actually quite like the concept of it. I would hope that we see more things approached in that way, I guess.
It creates so much like cooler because if these were rocks back here, or I guess rocks back here, the Zerg would very quickly probably just send lings over here and eventually break them down, and that just creates more of a headache for the other races in my opinion. Obviously a little biased as I'm not a Zerg player, but usually destructible rocks would just start to favor Zerg as the mid game gets like more and more intense. You know, Protoss always would complain about having more than one avenue into their base and whatnot. So the gold bases really take that away. They still provide an opportunity to eventually break through, quote unquote, but it's not the same as just sicking lings on there and waiting for the rocks to break. uThermal tried this once before. I guess he's gonna try it again. The quadruple mine drop, instantly denied because Nerchio had just played him playing Banshees, but it's been a while since uThermal's played Banshees, so maybe Nerchio will not be getting the instant Spore Crawlers. That means the Widow Mines have a potential to do a lot more damage.
Maybe. I mean, it's something where I feel like when you go for Widow Mines in general, there's a risk that they get a lot of damage, too much damage done, certainly. But there are some players who just seem to never, ever take that damage, no matter what. Nerchio's like, okay, yeah, he did it well earlier, but he's also done it well every other time we've seen him.
Mm-hmm. It's really, I think, it's like half, okay, do they have detection already? Okay, bummer, they do. And then half, where does the medevac actually go? I think there's been at least 2 times where we've seen medevacs come in through this very location, and that's where the Zerg would put their queens. And, like, it would just get wrecked. Because, you know, you expect them to go towards your natural. The third is going to be saturated by now, and the main is so big and open that, you know, by the time you actually drop through this, it's going to be reacted to. So the natural makes the most sense, and as we can see here, totally called it. The queen's already in position.
Yeah.
Actually, is a Zelnaga taken as well? I think it saw maybe the tail end of that medevac drop, and there is a Spore Crawler done. So this was perfect timing on all fronts from Nerchio. I like that the uThermal just gave up on it.
You know, it also, let's not forget, too, Nerchio has been consistently doing that with most of these maps, so stacking the queens of the naturals and other places. But this map has that kind of cool potential for that back attack. Like, Liberator setting up above that natural base. You could put maybe some tanks behind it, too. It's hard to reach and hard to deal with. Mm-hmm. It is worth noting, though, there was, at a point, a really abusive Liberator spot on this map that has since been fixed. So there should be no ultimate, like, oh, you can't touch me no matter what I do spot.
This is going to combo, speaking of the Liberators, he's going to combo the Liberators with the Widow Mine drop. Now, Nerchio sees this, but he has to actually wait for Roaches and Ravagers, of course, more importantly, to make. And they're not around yet, so this could just be very bothersome, basically. It shouldn't really do that much damage. As you can see, the Spore Crawlers, like, he tries to position them as good as well as possible, but there you go. They had to be where the Lings were to really stop this. And the Widow Mine drops come in, too, as the drones are pulled.
I love the idea of using the Widow Mines to try and catch the drones that were pulled away from it. 9 go down through this attack. This isn't too bad because he hasn't lost much for it. I mean, the Widow Mines are consequential because they're going to die no matter what, but they don't cost that much. The medevac, however, does.
Look at this. There's no high ground vision until the second Overlord came.
Yeah, that first overload, I guess, is blocked out by the tree.
That doesn't
I
look
remember
right.
we had discussed this, like, would these trees even be physical blockers? Like, could you move back there? But I guess now we know about the really low vision provided through that. And I think the idea was the Liberators weren't supposed to be able to see through the trees, not the other way around.
Yeah, that didn't work out quite as planned. Thanks to X Kawaiian for the 20-month resub.
And notice that we're acknowledging it on stream, man, because we're here live and you don't have to get upset about it. Just kidding, I love you, Kawaiian. Got to meet him and hang out with him at DreamHack Austin. He has some interesting points of view on feminism.
Oh, Jesus.
Or misunderstandings of the concept, but still, cool guy nonetheless.
That was
I loved your reaction
interesting.
just now, by the way. Better than the reaction of when the incident actually happened.
Because, okay, it's not that, like, you brought
Oh,
up
Jesus.
you didn't bring up the F word. It's just, like, to tell the story would just, it couldn't happen on stream.
No, that's something catch us at catch an event maybe time when we're drunk.
Yeah, it was dumb. So anyway, the Liberators, they kind of did their job in helping with the Widow Mines, but then the other two Liberators really didn't. So they actually got kind of wrecked and shreked, and these two are so low they're not really going to do very much more. But the macro is still going fairly strong. He's actually fallen behind on upgrades, unfortunate. Nerchio had a very well-timed lair this game. Infestation Pit, and it's the standard. Nerchio is kind of at that point where if it's not broken, don't fix it, I suppose. And uThermal is the one that's got to try and mix things up, mix timings up, or mix, compositions up in the late game. I really, really, really liked the tank option. I thought those tanks are doing great, and not just because of the map. As we saw, he went into the location where they weren't really abusable. But having double pump tanks, having like 8 or 10 when ultras come out, and getting any type of choke, and they're pretty damn effective. But he's once again going for just pure bio into Liberators, the starport.
Well, right side of the map, those two Liberators are still really low from earlier, looking to move up. And I guess those medevacs are going to preemptively unload. I don't like the Liberators. I mean, this is so risky with how low they already are to do
They're
this.
gonna die. They're also stacked up, so.
I mean, yeah, if they had range or something, this would be different, but that was not worth the one drone they just got. I'd say just repair those. But anyways, uThermal just clearing up some creep. He really can't get a lot done with what he has. It's a small amount of Marines. Combat Shields is seconds for finishing, but still not done yet. This is too many Ravagers, but more importantly, too many Lings to contest. So going back home and meeting up with the rest of his army or picking up to drop elsewhere are his only real options right now. There is no fighting that head on.
Okay, so we have ship weapons on the way, which makes sense. He's going very quickly into Liberators, and he is just going to try and play this, okay, get to Liberators, get to a good max out army while dropping. But Nerchio's been very good with the drop defense, so I can't see this doing any better than the last 10 games that he's tried it.
That's, oh my god, I didn't even register that this is game 11, or 12, excuse me.
12, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe if he had gone directly towards this space, he would have gotten a cancel, but a cancel is not too problematic, and unfortunately he did not see it, so we just got a creep drummer that was alive. Not too great. The Ultralisk Cavern is only just now started, and I mean, with triple Liberator production, he does also then a 4th base. I swear in the last 12 games, 11 games I guess, he has never done both. He's only ever gone for just Liberators or just a 4th, and a couple of other things. So to see him kind of actually kind of embracing maybe the turtle, I hope this goes a lot better for him. This is where maybe Nerchio will mess up and over-dedicate, thinking that, okay, I beat him so quickly with Ultras before, let's try it again. And maybe uThermal's going to be in a better SimCity with more Liberators, and, basically everything should be going a lot better. But that's where the Nidus Swarm is tricky. Those tanks that were doing so well on New Gettysburg, a single Nidus Swarm with 3 Ultras actually wrecked uThermal's plan. So once again, Nerchio adds that on, and at any point could throw that out. I see it right here. If the Liberators weren't covering it, I think that would be a good spot. I mean, even just a frontal Nidus Swarm would probably be okay. Drops, okay, that wasn't denied. That was actually a kill, so okay, that's nice, but, Nerchio is at this point that he's been on 4 bases for quite a long time, not too harassed, although a couple of Ravagers are going to go down here, where he can afford to replace a hatchery. That's not a big problem. And oh my goodness! Oh my god!
Oh my gosh!
Why,
Yeah,
what is
so
that?
Getting a couple of corruptors is going to be nice to deal with the Liberators if you are really worried about these positions continuing to be abused. But as we see how those Liberators with their range and a scan to pair with it, seeing this base is no problem and shooting from very far away in a very safe location. Now this is something you could consider abusive for certain, but I want to remind everybody really quick, uThermal actually can't see the mineral line clearly where he's currently at. Like, he actually has to scan to get good hits. The very edge, though, he can see no problem. Regardless, denying mining as we speak. Left side of the map looks like we got... Oh, we'll forget that. In the bottom left side of the map, we got a Nidus Worm coming down. And Nerchio has gotten away with a Nidus Worm in pretty much every situation so far.
Yeah, and once again, uThermal is maxed out, so he's not going to have anything back at home. Or actually, around the Nidus Worm, I should say. His army still is at home, but it was going to deal with the frontal attack at first. Now it's kind of has to pick and choose. This is where the Nidus Worm might not be that great, as the Ultras get into a choke. The Liberators, unfortunately, siege up in the totally wrong location. This actually looks really stupid right now. And the SCVs, of course, are going to go down. The Natural's also open, but Nerchio isn't sending any Lings over there. But though, so many SCVs went down actually over here.
This has just gotten out of hand. No, it's kind of, it is base trade. Like, uThermal's not trying to come back home. He's trying to focus on that Spire. He wants to get away on the map with what he can. Drops in like 4 different locations as we speak, but everything on the map is just blinking like crazy because Nerchio's attacking uThermal in every location. If it comes down to a straight-up base trade, it is a matter of lifting bases, and that's not going to cut it. Oh,
he's not lifting. Well, speaking of lifting, he's not lifting his command centers. One army down. His main's going to go down as well as he deals with his last Ultra. And he's on a planetary with 1 more orbital, but that easily could have been 3 orbitals. That could have been a recovery process as he kills his own hatcheries or drones. So
I don't think uThermal expected to get so much out of this, but because it was pretty much like a desperate gamble at this point, but... As the Ultras come in, Liberators setting up to try and hold this base. A fungal growth on top of the SCVs will drive this back, but that's still him being so far behind off this attack.
These 2 Marines, by the way, they kill a hatchery. They've
2
done
Marines,
more. Yeah, they've done more than any other drop, I believe. Oh, well, I guess it was 1 kill that one, but...
No, that's true. They actually did more than most other drops. Like, even the Liberators did less, I feel, than those Marines.
Yeah.
To an extent, but Nidus Worm goes down in the same location once again. uThermal this time is not supply capped, but he is supply blocked, so production still isn't happening.
Yeah. If oh man, I just like 2 more orbitals, they would have been lifted for a very long time. They would have instantly dropped so many mules as they landed. That just would have been such a better position. This Nidus Worm was actually very weak. Oh, there we go.
Well, not anymore. But it's really interesting to see just how much of a problem this has been for uThermal. Like, Nidus Worms in general are usually not that bad, but Nerchio in every instance has caught uThermal as he's not just been maxed, but across the map, it's like the best case scenario for each and every one of these Nidus Worms.
Yeah. Unfortunately, uThermal could not have really asked for a better position, other than noticing the Nidus Worm, of course, because his army was close to the Nidus Worm. It's just that he went back to defend against the Nidus Worm. Oh, his planter is going to go down. And then didn't pull his 3rd. He didn't lift it, he didn't pull the SCVs. If he had just done that, then it would have been choke versus choke, and he probably would have done very well. But it was a lot to take in within 10 seconds. You hear the Nidus Worm, you see the army coming at you, and it's very hard to react appropriately in all situations at the same time as you're microing 3 drops over here. Like, that was going to be impossible for anyone. So uThermal, unfortunately, looks like he's going to lose this game. That 4th base is pretty important. He's lifting his natural, his only command center left. And he's at 15 SCVs. I guess, just enough to kind of saturate it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm feeling for uThermal, and while this is match point for the overall series, he's still got a lot of money he can win from this if he can win the next 3 or something, but it does look like we're going to have that 8-4 score at this rate.
Yeah. So my correct score, but your correct players.
I mean, I was only off by 1.
Yeah, you're pretty close.
That's kind of what happened to Nerchio last time, too, because I guess 6-4, he went 6-3, but... regardless, I mean, uThermal's still fighting, and it is worth noting, like, the army supply is still fairly even. That being said, it's things like Ultras versus a lot of bio, Medevacs are starting to run out of energy. I don't think this is getting better for uThermal, but he's still in the game, so we shouldn't talk about defeat too quickly.
Corruptors are out, so I'm going to talk about defeat. Yeah, that was actually the one problem that Nerchio had. The Spire was sniped, so he committed to like a planetary, and Liberators brought it back, and it looked a bit hopeful. But now with the Corruptors out, that should be the last, desperate hope for uThermal just gone. Especially if Nerchio just spreads them around a little bit, makes sure drops don't start killing his bases either, and I don't think uThermal. Oh, I just keep going back to if he had only saved 2 extra command centers.
Yeah. I mean, I can't see like with how close this is. I can agree there could have been that butterfly effect of like, oh, this one small change would have made such a difference. But regardless, the point is 85 overall supply to 145 right now. The Corruptor's gonna be able to pick off these medevacs, which have been the one thing really just keeping this bio to be such a nuisance, and Nerchio unable to win the game with it dancing around.
It's also a bit of a tough choice here, as uThermal can only choose really Liberators or Medevacs with a limited gas count, and all of his Medevacs are dead. So that's awkward. That's no more healing for his army. Last push from uThermal to try and win this game. It's just not gonna work. Oh no.
I mean, this was a better game played on uThermal in the late game than any of the games so far. But it's also the first time Nerchio's had to go towards Spire, so it's hard to say that this was definitively better. GG gets called, and Nerchio will lock down the best of 15, securing first place prize of $1,000. But that being said, there's still more maps we played. That was game 12. We're going to go to game 13, 14, and 15. And while this goes on, BCQD and Neep have officially started their series. So we'll have replay casts of that, but it will be replay casts like right away. So these aren't replays that are sitting there for a day or two. Beastie and Neep are actually in game number 1 of their series as we speak. So we will have fresh replays of that to cast immediately afterwards. And I'll make sure to host those up so it's not accidentally spoiled on any of the other streams or anything like that. But we are going to go to a break when we get to the next map. So do stick with us, folks, and we'll see you all in a few minutes with more of these finals.
Hello, welcome back. We are getting into Flame Juggler, because that's alphabetical and no one can say differently.
Yeah, and we also didn't consider the Fs later, earlier, excuse me. But so while this has concluded the finals in one version, there's still another aspect of the finals that's being done right now. And again, it's a best of 15 that Nerchio's won. So $800 to uThermal for second place and $1,000 to Nerchio for first place. But each of these wins is worth another $50. So there's currently 8 wins for Nerchio and 4 wins for uThermal. That's what, $200 for uThermal and an extra $400 for Nerchio? Because math?
I'm not going to do math. I'm going to kick this cat out, though. Bye, kitty.
Which one is it, Apollo? I don't have your camera for once. I can't stalk your cats.
Yeah, he was trying to chew on cords because y'all like, he's not paying attention to me. Okay.
Yeah, so uThermal actually has $1,000 for second place currently, and Nerchio has $1,400 for first, with their current score being 8-4. So, a considerable amount of money won here in the finals, which is pretty cool to see. And all 15 maps getting played is even better for the map makers, so they can every single one of them, have had their maps made and played. But we get into Flame Juggler. This is that monkey map. Seriously, guys, tilt your head slightly to the right if you can't see it. The mini map is definitely a monkey. Spawning in the top left side of that monkey on his ear, it's going to be the Red Terran player, uThermal. So at this point, can still win additional money, but only up to $150 more.
Yeah. In the bottom right, as the Blue Zerg, he is Nerchio, and wisely goes for an early pool.
Yes, because we do have these racks coming down. Now, I gotta wonder, like, is this something where uThermal says, screw it, I've lost the overall series, so I'll just cheese and try and get the best results possible out of what's left? And if he does, I think it'd be hilarious if it worked in every game. You're kind of like, well, I should have just done this for the whole series.
Right? Like, maybe you should have after he just, utterly crushed Nerchio with those Reapers. But that was a map that was just...
That was a map for it, yeah.
It was just yelling, like, go Reapers, go Reapers. But he's gonna really cheese it up, and honestly... I'm not going to judge him. In fact, I would really appreciate if he went 3-rack Reaper every single map. Because, okay...
It's a test to see
it's seriously,
how the maps will look with it.
It's seriously a test. Like, it's funny, like, in the best 69, we didn't have many cheeses, right? We thought there was going to be so many cheeses. In this map tournament, I thought there was going to be a lot more cheeses. We saw only on basically... the Cloud Kingdom one, I can remember the name of, I'm so sorry. And tank pushes, which in some situations can be like a little cheesy, right? Like they're pretty good sometimes. But never really like any Baneling busts or like even like Overlord drops or the Nidus worms, only really late Nidus worms. And I just feel like there could have been more abuse maybe on some of these maps. So I would be okay with seeing cheese, nothing but cheese from both players. I thought that didn't work out so well.
I guess this is the point to be made about Flame Juggler, though. There really isn't a lot of opportunity up this ramp. The ramp, excuse me, mamp. It is only the ramp, as well as that little area to the right, just barely. So if that bunker doesn't actually complete, there's no safe way to get up here. This is where I would love to see something like what Ruff did versus Sulky, and you get like a planetary proxy before creep sets in or something. But saying screw it, the spine crawler is going to complete. That bunker's not going to finish. He decides to go to the right. But I feel with roaches coming out the way they are and being able to all just hold position at the top of this ramp, uThermal may be SOL.
Yeah, just like
Wait,
quick load around.
Wait,
look at this.
He's going for 3 tech labs. He's going to go Marauders? What?
Can he even afford triple Marauder?
He can afford at least double. I don't know about triple.
Yeah, it's literally double the cost of a Reaper, so...
Maybe this is just for the sick of stim transition. You don't know.
Oh, Jesus.
Wow, that cat was so loud. Did it just die?
I have to let it out, and it was just like, oh my god, a human. Okay.
That was about as surprising as this attack was, but unfortunately, like the cat, this attack was held with grace and decorum, and Nerchio has locked this down pretty nicely.
I've never heard her been so loud.
Your cat is so loud all the time, always.
Okay. So yeah, jokes aside for like the sim combat marauder shield combination damage, he came back. Oh god.
How could you tell? Did you hear her or something? That's so strange. So actually, this is 1-for-1. Marauders don't actually trade out with roaches. I mean, Marauders look hilarious when they fight stalkers because it's such an easy battle. He's actually fully pulled off of gas now. What? I guess you don't need a lot of gas from Marauders, and he's just going to go with what he can. I feel like this third barracks, though, should have just been lifted a long time ago and used for vision and not even tried to produce anything with it. But if this works, I mean, it'll be damn impressive. You're going to technically have the roaches, quote-unquote, crowd controlled. They're going to be in the air for the Reaper grenades, dancing around 1 second at a time. If the Marauders are shooting them while this goes on, they could kill a lot of roaches. But this is a pretty big what-if scenario.
Yeah, the Overlord finally sees what's happening, by the way. Like, Nerchio has seen the base of uThermal and is like, okay, you have a follow-up of something, I'm just not sure what. And Marauders are not really you expect.
No, certainly not. Getting up this ramp is going to be that impossible scenario, too, with that Ravager shot just constantly zoning them out. There's no stim to kill themselves with, but there's just too much of an army. uThermal realizing this dancing around awkwardly, that's going to be game. And map number, what is it, like 13? Going to go to Nerchio.
Yeah, that's 13.
9-4 now the total score. Although it's going to keep rhyming if uThermal doesn't win another game, so that's cool too. Small break while we get into the next map, guys. Do stick with us. Thank you for watching. Actually, before we go to a break, because we are going to take a break here, let's type the players. Sorry, 1 sec. I do want to quickly shout out our sponsors here on the channel. Now, you guys may not have noticed, but I cleaned up the Twitch page actually more recently. We got an artist to redo some of the widgets. It all overall looks really nice. So please scroll down below and look for the sake of looking because it looks very pretty now. But we do have a couple of promotions going on. Zombie actually just while we were casting got our arcade block in the mail. So we're going to unbox that at the end of stream so you guys can take a look at this month's. The Everything Rifkin and Everything Zombie Grub pages haven't been set up yet, but we're going to be using those 2 little tabs to basically put our respective like Twitters, Facebooks, Instagrams, whatever. Basically stuff you need to find about us that's too cluttered to put on the page. The chat rules thing has actually been updated, so I should probably edit that. But most importantly, our channel sponsors need some love. So check out all the Corsair gear we've got linked down below. The K70 keyboard is amazing. Of course, the Yord watches that are currently being sold. G2A stuff. You guys know how that works. Get the games for cheap. Use code BASE, yada, yada, yada. But of course, chairs for gaming last but not least. That being said, we'll go to a small break. And the next map will be Killzone. So I'll see you guys soon.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to game...
14 out of 15.
Yeah, 14. Yep. It's going to be on Killzone, with the last map being Namaste.
Yes. So as we hop into it, again, the score being so skewed and silly, a lot of you guys are asking, wait, I thought it was just the best of 15. And it was. That determined first and second place. But these maps remaining are worth $50 each. And we also, again, even if it's just 3 racks proxy reapers every time, that's still fine. Because it still gives us a good look at the map in ways that it can maybe be abused or not. As this is still that last couple of days where the map makers can touch up their maps and ideally fix them to make them the most ideal possible for that contest submission. But that being said, it is game number 14 out of 15. And in the upper right side of Killzone, we've got the red Terran player, uThermal.
I can't do the score anymore.
Score currently 4.
In the bottom left as the blue Zerg, he's Nerchio.
Score currently 9. And you're right, because if this actually goes to game 15, we can't put 10 on the overlay.
Yeah. So hopefully uThermal will win this one.
Maybe. uThermal, as we've just learned, kind of a little bit disheartened. You know, he says, and I quote, like, I played to win the tournament, not to win the $50 per map. But it's a nice little bonus you have on the side of it, and hopefully he will still be trying to win said $50. Because the other part of this that I guarantee no player's really considering right now, but they've got this sort of responsibility on their shoulders, is they're giving us displays on the maps, not just so you guys, the viewers, are entertained a little bit more or less, but because it lets the map makers know what's good or wrong or right about their maps, so they can adjust them so that they can make them the best map possible on account of the fact that this could all lead towards the next season of Ladder. The small things, this extra game uThermal plays out here and there, could have a big influence on what maps actually make it through to the next season or not. We don't know.
Mm-hmm. And in this case, it is Sidian the Bard, hopefully watching and learning about what makes his map so great or so imbalanced. This is the one with the very odd middle base that can sometimes be the wiser choice, I think specifically for Protoss. It looks pretty good. I remember Mana took it. But it also has these ledges, so I guess let's reverse that and check out Nerchio's ledges. Ooh, so sexy. But uThermal could actually, like, see, I think uThermal did do it. Set a bunker there, set tanks up, and then just maybe like a medevac, and you're going to just continue to bother Nerchio all damn day long. So that could be a very good plan, if you think of it.
Real men have ledges.
Yes, and ledgers, the right things. Makes sense.
Alright, so not doing anything super crazy this game, but we do have the factory following this up out of uThermal. Now, this map, by the way, again, you take a quick look at that middle third. We've, in every instance, expected people to not take this, but then pretty much every game they do take it. So, I don't know, balls to the walls, I guess, no fear. If there are tanks in play, though, uThermal should be able to take an advantage, as he has consistently been using edges and cliffs and whatnot to his advantage to harass Nerchio, at least.
Yeah. Trying to find some overlords, but unfortunately not really knowing the absolute, like, specific timing of like where and when Zerg sends their overlords, misses it entirely and just goes back home. He's got a starport on the way, so it is going to be for those tank drops that open him up fairly, like they're good. They open him up fine and they're safe as well. So in case Nerchio was the one to start piling on the heat early game, he'd be totally safe. But that's never really been the problem. It's always been the late game and what you can do later and later. I really hope he does abuse the ledges somehow, but I think with only a tank drop, that might not be likely. We'll see if the Marines move out, and more specifically, if the Marines move out with an SCV. Right now, they don't really look like they're in too big of a hurry to do that. Actually, just trying to deny Overlord scouting.
Well, for uThermal, who hopefully is, again, I don't think he's gonna phone it in. Like, don't get me wrong on this. Like we described earlier, he's feeling a little disheartened after losing the series, and who wouldn't? But still, with quite a bit of money on the line and an extra $100, I would hope he gives it his all. I guess at this point too, it might even not be about him getting $50, but keeping Nerchio from getting $50.
You son of a bitch! You already beat me. Yeah.
And that's me. I'm the guy who, like, if I really don't like who I'm playing against, like, I'll float to the corner of the map.
Oh, of course. If they preemptively GG, I will float.
Yeah, it's not about winning at that point. It's about just ruining your opponent's life and wasting their time.
Absolutely. All right, so the Marines do push out, but no SCVs for bunkers, which I was hoping to see. They also go, I think, the wrong direction. There's not really any abusable spots I can see here. Well, I guess if you get, like, right up here. Okay.
Maybe.
Well, this is really odd, because he just goes back home. Made a mistake. Everyone back home.
Nobody look.
No, never mind. We're just going to pick up forward the Marines. Don't worry about it. Okay.
All right, so quick reminder, too, just while this game kicks off. Again, BCQD and Neeb are already playing their best of 5. They're doing this because we didn't know how long this would take, and we didn't want them waiting too long, as, again, it could have gone a while. So we'll get replays from that ASAP, but it is only a best of 5 for the third place match, but we are still going to cast that nonetheless. I'm actually hoping the series goes long for it, but uThermal does seem to be in a bit of a rush. Attack does come into the fight, and this, I mean, it's not working out for him. The tank doesn't get the shots it wants. A lot of Nerchio's army is low, but not quite dead. And, of course, there's going to be link reinforcements here shortly. The tanks might be able to get some damage done. Hopefully, fingers crossed, can get some damage done, but unlikely with what's left.
Yeah. Medevac's trying to skirt around the corners. There's actually not too much dead space. to abuse on this map, so that's not gonna happen. But this isn't the final, like, big push that's gotta work or it's just game over, and it's a very good thing in that case that he saved whatever he could, and actually quite a lot, because there's a lot of production going down just now. Probably want to continue tank production. But upgrades as well, combat shields and stim, no Gearing Bay. Don't need one of those. And the second push should be a lot more difficult for Nerchio to hold, but after holding that first one so easily, usually kind of snowballs, as we've seen in the past 13 games. Oh, it is another CC. On location? What? Huh.
I mean, if Nerchio's going to do what he does, and that's play passive until he's got a really big army, this is kind of fine. I mean, considering most of this series, there hasn't been Lings at uThermal's base at 5 minutes in, and there hasn't been a big Roach Ravager attack. I think he'll get away with it.
But Lings had been running around the map. I mean,
that's
most
true,
of the
but
games.
because he's left his army at home instead of posturing elsewhere on the map, it's very easy for him to respond to that.
I can't even remember what games. Like, I'm done.
I'm done, guys. I'm phoning it in at this point. I'm getting zombie. See you later.
Yeah, let's see. Okay, so this is trading out the tank drop, which isn't going to really do very much, for a marine drop with stim and combat shields that could do a lot. They could actually get a cancel on his fourth base as Nerchio timing a little bit off.
Lings are thwarted as uThermal does hold that position. Third base still untouched through this. North side for Nerchio under attack. It looks like uThermal dancing all over the map, and we're just missing all the action barely.
Yeah, there's nothing really happening. I just checked that Nerchio, in fact, does not see the third CC, which is a little funny, considering the overloads right there. We'll eventually see the mining, I suppose, but he still thinks this is a two-base attack, which I would say is like a bad thing, because maybe he'll over-dedicate to the defense, you know, but I don't think that's actually the case. He's still getting his upgrades and 65 drones, you know, the fourth base actually getting up here, and creep spread is also like a really big problem. It has exceeded quite far. This is actually a nice little area for the tanks to go up against, so if Nerchio has to go up this base, then so be it. I think that would be better than giving up his army, and there are a couple other options of bases he could take, including this one in the middle that would look kind of safe, but actually going for a almost full surround, so the tank position doesn't matter anymore, and that is just easily sent back home. I was talking about this base, by the way. The middle base, at this point, looks actually kind of safe, because uThermal is pushing towards the top. Fourth base, by the way, barely didn't go down. Just assumed that would be tapped like one more time, but it was not. I like that uThermal is just trying to change locations. They just talked about the path, that, you know, maybe there was a fifth down here that could have been killed, or maybe at least clears up the creep, but unfortunately, not much more. Not unless he does a doom drop into the main base, which is always so risky to do against Zerg. Just gonna go right on top of the Roach Warren, actually. So yeah, still going into the main base to hope with that fungal. No fungal, haha! No passing glands. That is quite lucky for uThermal.
But
unfortunately, his tanks aren't sieged up.
And then he's still unloading into Lings, which is never going to go too well. Picks up to fly away. A lot of the units do get out of this for uThermal, but the attack was pretty well stopped by Nerchio. The other half of uThermal's army is going to meet up with him here in the middle of the map, and maybe this force will be big enough to keep pushing. He's going to fall behind upgrades. I mean, 1-1 hasn't even begun. This is, despite a third base down, kind of an all-in tactic out of uThermal.
Surprised he bothered getting a Gearing Bay to the front with his wall.
Really quick, by the way, because people are asking about it, like, we will not be spoiling the results for the BC Neeb series. We're going to be casting that as if it were live, because it is basically an hour delayed live.
It was a 6-3 score. Am I banned?
Yep. Natural base under attack by Nerchio. You're banned because your observing sucks.
I got to it.
Not for the spoilers, just for the other part. But no, this is unfortunate for uThermal because he was already pretty all in. Now he's got to go with what he has. He comes back home to respond instead of attacking. Going to lose out on any timies he had. Nerchio starts out the Ultraless Cavern while this goes on.
19 cities go down. And uThermal, I don't know, I didn't really highlight it, but he really isn't really mining off of his third base for a long time. I think these SCVs were just transferred. So he was only at 45 to begin with. Not too many. So as more go down, Liberators go down. This might be a big enough army for uThermal to push this back, but lifting a third still hurts.
Well, not only that, but like even if he pushes this back, it is about what follows it up. And like he's gonna kill a lot of the Ravagers. The focus fire is fantastic as he dances around with no upgrades. It is taking a long time to kill these units, but it's about what comes up next. And it's again, Ultras will be popping soon. 22 Roaches remax on this. Hive Tech is finishing. uThermal just he might finally snipe this base, but it's gonna be hard to say it's gonna been worth it.
Yeah. It is so funny to see absolutely no upgrades on a Bi army, by the way. But
yeah,
this was...
I mean, the +2 armor for Nerchio is going to mean these roaches don't even take any damage from the Marines, hardly.
What was that? Yeah, it was almost like a fake third base, by the way. Like, it was not mining for a very long time, and he never bothered going above 45 SCVs, and no upgrades as well. Like, this late game wasn't even really supposed to happen for uThermal, and it's not going to work out.
Nerchio now going to have a 10-point score, something we can no longer display on the overlay as we get into the final map, map number 15.
Yeah, namaste.
I just want to point out, though, Beastie and Neeb currently are in an insanely long game. We may end up just... Our schedule really might be screwed up from this. I don't know. I see custom lobby Beastie. I guess I don't want to spoil it. I won't spoil it for the stream, but they're in a pretty long game right now.
Really? Because I see something different.
Oh.
It says less than 1 minute.
Wait, are they not playing each other?
Maybe it's already done.
Hang on. Don't start. We're going to go to commercial break. I'm going to see what's going on with the series, guys. Give me 1 moment.
Okay.
We'll be back soon.
Hello! We are into our last game of this series. We are just waiting on Emil, who had the lobby bug, so I guess he's relogging. And then I'll be ready to go into Namaste, the prettiest map in the map pool. Oh, stop the timer. And there is Emil, so. uThermy, you ready?
Yeah, and I just typed this in chat, but I want to confirm it, guys. So when it said BC was in game for like 47 minutes, that's what got me confused and wondering. But it turns out it was just a friends list bug. I actually have no idea how long that game went because they've started a new game since then, and it still says BC's in the custom game for 29 minutes now, which is not a possibility, being that they've just started a new game. So I don't know the score. I don't have any spoilers to provide. It was a friends list bug that had me really confused, but it was simply just a friends list bug.
Yeah. Oh, well. Okay, he's ready. Let's do this. Let's get the last game over and done with.
Map 15. This is gonna be interesting.
I actually think uThermal could win this, but I don't know if he'll use the abusive spot. He didn't last game.
We'll see if Nerchio even gives him the opportunity to take it, but
That's
Nerchio
true.
will probably take the gold if I had to guess. But this is the final map to be played in the BaseTradeTV map test tournament, guys. Every single map that the map makers submitted have been now played in this finals. Many of them have been played over the last few weeks. Best of 9s, best of 11s, you name it, lots of games, and I hope you've enjoyed them all. Big thank you once again to Blizzard for making all of this possible, giving the prize pool $4,000 from them, on top of the fact that we just have this amazing crew of players who showed up to play. I'm just so excited this went as well as it did, and I hope that you guys get a good look at the maps. I hope this will help the map makers influence, change, and make their maps the best versions possible so that we can see maybe 1 or 2 of these or even more on the ladder in the future. With that long intro out of the way, in the upper right side of the map, it's going to be the Red Terran player, uThermal, who is at this point playing for $50 on this last map.
In the top left as the blue Zerg, he's a Nerchio. Playing safe.
So I don't really know how the game works entirely, but I've seen a couple episodes. Have you seen that Deal or No Deal show with Howie Mandel?
Yeah.
So I don't think it's something we could do easily or effectively, but I think it'd be kind of cool to do like a show match where it was like you get 3 or 4 different show matches, and it's like a deal or no deal scenario for each one to determine how much money their show match is worth after having played it, so not knowing what they're playing for going into like that best of 5 or the best of 7. And then the winner gets to kind of basically play around with the cases. So like he could trade out the $50, he could keep the $100, maybe there's a $300 in there somewhere, you know what I mean?
I cannot visualize it at all.
Okay, well, hopefully
So-
someone else out there has my crazy idea in their head. I'm not saying that's something we're moving towards. We got no plans for it. Just kind of a random thought I've had just now that could be kind of interesting. As, again, Nerchio did win the actual best of 15 finals, but they are playing for map score, and each map is worth $50. So Nerchio locking down 10 wins has locked down an additional $500 for first place.
Was this necessary?
I mean, this kind of reminds me of back in the day, what map was that actually you would do that on all the time? You had that right outside your base.
Cloud Kingdom. There's
That and
actually a
Overgrowth.
few.
Overgrowth would do that too.
Because back in the day, map history time or something, I don't know. Back in the day, it was almost essential that Overlords had a little spot to be put over right at the natural choke, like I guess right here would have been if uThermal was Nerchio. And to kind of circumvent that, you could just lift and kill it. But of course, it would take away your barracks time, which usually had a reactor trying to be built on it, so you can get to Hellions. So it's kind of old school to see that, and it was also, I think, unnecessary. They was already dying. There's no high ground it was going to. But whatever. He had a couple other barracks that were still providing marine production, and it is barracks, not a factory. Which, as I checked the wrong vision, there we go. uThermal does... Nerchio does not know about. Oh, Nerchio takes the gold. Good call, Rifkin.
Yeah, so I said he wouldn't take the gold, but I guess I just meant at that location. He still goes for it in general. And we talked about this before. I like the butts, and I guess so does Nerchio, because the bottom half of this map doesn't get used too often.
Yeah.
Not from any of the games we've cast on it. And Namaste has appeared pretty consistently in all the series.
Yeah.
In fact, I don't even think there's a single series where it was vetoed.
I didn't cast 3 days, but so far you're right, yeah. Of the 7 best ofs that I have.
Actually, I took a note out of your book, and I wrote vetoes on paper, and yeah, Namaste, excuse me, it was vetoed one time in one of the Festive 11s, whatever that first one was. I think the TvT of Beastie versus uThermal.
Ah, interesting.
So, excuse me, I was incorrect.
Well, this is a very awkward push because it's actually before the combat shields finish.
But it also gets into a really sick spot with timing. Had he been able to kill that first queen and the second queen, that would have been really worth the marine push. So close to getting both of them, but just barely not quite right.
More barracks coming down. Finally, a starport. Really just nothing but marines here. And unfortunately, Stim will have to be just waited upon. It's like the much, much slower upgrade. And the combat shields almost feel kind of useless. Actually finished now, though, as I as I speak about it. Lings come in and can't deal with the combat shields. And just that amount of marines in general. But uThermal, yeah, he didn't get the queens. He didn't really get that many drones, and I'm not even sure he knows about this gold base. He doesn't. He has no idea where Nerchio plans as his third. And with taking the gold base as the third, there's no opportunity to abuse this space that I was talking about. Like, if they're going to take this gold base, or hell, even this base, which would be very awkward and odd and whatever, the tanks just absolutely obliterated. So in a way, the gold base is kind of the safest one. I guess sans this base here, but it's in such a wide open position that actually I think it's going to be the better option almost every time against Terran.
I just realized the bottom of this map literally looks like 2 butt cheeks with those bases sitting down on something. Like if you're looking at the butt
and
from
like
behind.
there's like dimples or something in these minerals. These are the butt cheeks, everyone. Here's the outside of the butt cheeks, if you didn't get it. Interesting.
Yeah.
Here's a little spine,
So
you know?
I got a one-track mind. What
Yeah,
can I
you
say?
do. Yeah, you do.
Two sensor towers in the upper middle part of the map and we'll be good to go.
Why is she... Wait, her boobs are on the wrong side. Fix it.
Yeah, now that I've seen it, I can't unsee it. It's weird. It's like a belly button. It's... Oh, no, you know what it is? It's like an amputee from the front. Oh, no.
What the fuck? You stop. You didn't have to go that way.
Because you see it, right? Like the watchtower's kind
No.
of like the belly button area. Oh, you know what is? Those are knees. She's kneeling down in the bottom of the map is what's happening.
I was supposed to say, if that was her belly button, she's a very odd proportions.
Or just bad posture. Hello. Maybe she's
No.
like hunched over.
When you
dude.
sit
That's why-
down, like your belly button. Okay, I guess it would have been this Honaga. Is that the one you're talking about?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And
Then that's
what
not
I'm
as
saying is,
bad.
like, those would be the knees kneeling
Okay,
down at the
okay, I
bottom.
get you now. Anyway, double marine drop. This has been a very odd game for me, Thermal. He had a combat shield push that was without combat shields, and he has a stim drop that just barely timed out with stim. And it's just been trying to catch Nerchio off guard, I guess, but Nerchio's never been really caught off guard.
No, definitely not. uThermal, I mean, he's getting some kills here and there. It's kind of nice. We'll see if this gets out of hand. I mean, 1-1 finishing up in a moment is going to make these Lings really, really good. He's already got the armor for it. Of course, uThermal's +1 weapons is a little bit late to the party.
So I'm going to try and continue to drop uThermal. Euthermy. No idea about this gold, but I think he's figured it out by now. Fourth base is taken to the back, and Nerchio's just never going to give an opportunity to abuse this ledge, as it's probably the best bet he has. Trying to be kind of clever with the drops, so at least he doesn't drop onto the lings, but that's still a decent amount of lings, so if they get us around, they probably could do pretty well. Yep, that's good enough. Damn, Nerchio's pretty damn good at splitting his army. Oh, but try 4 medevac drops, now what, sucker? Oh, that was awkward. Actually does fully unload as Nerchio realizes what's going on, but has more reinforcements coming through. Another overload goes down, still not supply blocking Nerchio, and uThermal, despite... I thought that really would have surprised Nerchio. Does not. Nerchio deflects it easily on his invitation pit, on his way to roach speed. That's so late. And uThermal, his attacks just aren't catching Nerchio off guard. Now that's down his third base.
I don't know that you really have to rely on getting someone like Nerchio caught off guard. It's for me, I think, watching the games uThermal won especially, more about timing than anything else. And I like that he's not losing too much through these attacks. Like, if he was really trying to be super sneaky and kept poking and prodding and lost medevacs and lost Marines for it, that's really bad. But you got to consider, uThermal's only lost like 12 Marines, something like that this game. He's got plenty left over for this push. Tanks are going to come in. Rocks could be beneficial or not, but either way, the choke's going to help him against this primarily melee-heavy army of his opponents.
Yeah, that's a good point. Just quickly check the income graphs, and that gold base has really started to work in the last couple of minutes. Just a mass doom drop that is immediately picked up. Oh my goodness, this game isn't so awkward for uThermal. But still a very, very big army. Nerchio's a big one himself. Like, it is 30 plus, 20 plus in the army supply, and he's got upgrades finishing up just about. That +2 could be pretty useful. He's also setting up for a surround, so you have a big zoom out here, but unfortunately some of his army being caught without the other half. Ooh.
Free tank shots are really nice. He's going to jump on top of that, capitalizing on the really low roaches and ravagers. They pop off immediately. The reinforcements also from the rally just going to catch what little units are left. Now, uThermal for a moment left his tanks unguarded, but that being said, still has such a fantastic army coming on here, and Nerchio just getting caught in this choke. We'll see if this is enough for uThermal to finally take a great fight. Good enough to win the game, maybe. That's a lot of Marines still pushing forward. The tanks didn't go down. A lot of them are really low, but not dead yet.
Oh,
fact,
this
here
is
we go with the final
really
engagement
well.
coming down. Corsair's landing. A couple of fungal growths going to hit the army, but there's so many medevacs, it's not going to matter. He pulls back once again, and uThermal, with the power of 4 tanks, has beaten back the majority of Nerchio's army.
I think he's just about done it. Nerchio is now down about 20 army supply, despite having those upgrades. And the roach is going to be coming out one at a time, and they're just not looking too hot. The main base is going to go down.
Here we go. He's going to push into the army. So instead of trying to fight from far away, he gets really close to the tanks, picks them up, dodges the corrosive files. Only a handful of roaches and ravagers remain, and uThermal coming finally with the reinforcements. Those units that were in the main doing absolutely nothing obliterate what little roaches and ravagers are left. Who needs tanks when you've got overwhelming number 69 being that really sweet Terran number of army value to have?
Well, now 81.
With the way this map's been going, I'm just saying. Nerchio losing on his main kind of sucks. The natural base no longer mining. He is back to only the gold base. So uThermal at this point could just pump Marines and Marines and Marines, and his production will eventually win over. Nerchio's down to 34 workers.
Yeah, I think Nerchio's maybe in a bit of a state of disbelief. He's won the last however many games, oopsie, so easily that it's just like, oh, finally. uThermal's tank push works.
There's a guy in chat predicting patterns out of uThermal, saying he lost 1 game, then he lost 2 games, then he lost 3 games, and then he lost 4 games, so he would have to win game 15 with the patterns that have been displayed through his wins and losses through the series today. And it's funny because it's kind of working out like that.
Yeah, totally. Oh, there's a counterattack that kills a couple SCVs, but it's really not going to make up for the damage Nerchio is taking, and it's game over.
It's game over for sure. I mean, uThermal would have to move command and have no attacks flying for him to lose the game at this point. Hatchery's going to go down. The army from the north going to try and reinforce, but the tanks can just be picked up and thrown out of position. Nerchio just really, with what is 20 roaches in play in total, can't take on the 56 Marines, much less any tanks that are going to be getting the shots off. Liberator even sets up behind this. Didn't even realize that might be a problem with the terrain. You can't actually see that circle.
Oh, yeah.
Wait, is it even set up anymore? I think it's just fine.
Oh, you can kind of see it on the top. Yeah.
Yeah, that's so awkward. Like, okay, so that's a tile set that can't be used, pretty much for certain.
Yeah, that's very awkward. Nerchio's still not tapping out. It is the last game. He really wanted an extra $50.
Yeah, I'll give it to him too. I mean, like, again, with 5 wins under his belt, that's an additional $250. That's pretty nice. That's more money than the default first place prize.
There it is.
uThermal, ladies and
GG.
gentlemen, will take the very final game in this best of 15, and it was all or nothing, right? Double or nothing, whatever. That's what you keep saying. So the last game's the only one that mattered, something like that.
Totally.
Totally. Okay, so this is going to bring a conclusion to the best of 15 finals, but now we have a best of 5 third/4th place to make up. This will be a difference of $600 and $500 for Neeb and Beastie Cutie. This is going to be done through replays, so unfortunate to report that we will not be able to do this live, but the replays are fresh and brand new, and they're still actually playing as we speak. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the stream down, we're going to turn off the delay, I'm going to try streaming again and hopefully have things fixed up. It's best of 5, dummy. And yeah, once we have the replays, we'll cast those out. So I have no idea about the score. All I know is that there was not a 49-minute game in game number 1. That's the only spoiler I have for you that I accidentally gave away on stream. So sorry, guys. I don't know how long it is, though, because I still don't actually have the replays. But we'll be trading out, and we'll be back soon. And thank you guys for watching. And I guess, remember, before you turn the stream off, just throw up a 3-minute ad or whatever.
Okay.
So we'll be back soon, guys.